Alright, hello everybody. Just about ready to get started here, getting everything all set up and my music and voice volume good. So as usual, let me know how the volume is sounding, and if there's any issues I'm very happy to make changes. But yeah, I'm never totally sure how that's sounding, so yeah, just let me know of any how it's looking from your end. And I have a couple different ideas for today. Firstly, I want to try and use my emotes a little bit more often. I have them all set up, so hopefully, yeah, there we go. I'll be able to remember to use them a little bit more often. There's some really cute ones in there, and I forget about them all the time. I love this little lightning emote so much. I really have to remember to use it more often. So that is definitely one of my goals for the day. The other thing that I wanted to do was to just go over some isometric maps and tokens. I was streaming a little bit ago, and some people mentioned that they would be interested in some kind of a tutorial. Basically just sort of demonstrating how I use and set up isometric maps and tokens in Roll20, and also just sort of going through kind of my library that I have, all of the maps and tokens that I've drawn. I have a pretty extensive library actually by now, so I was just going to sort of go through that and kind of show some of the stuff that I already have, show how I would use it, and set up a scene. So yeah, the maps and tokens that I make are, they can be used in basically any virtual tabletop. Anything where you can have like a map as a background layer and then drag in a token, have it on a separate layer over top, and have that token controlled by the player, the DM, sort of as you see fit. Anything that a top-down or flat map will work on, isometric will also work on. It basically functions the exact same way as a top-down map or a flat map. So I happen to use Roll20. The main reason for that is because my stuff is all in the Roll20 shop. So I like that I can upload my stuff straight to the shop, and then it's just right there for me to grab. Roll20 has made a lot of changes and improvements since I started using it years ago. But I do definitely acknowledge that like the program is a little bit clunky. It was especially clunky a little while ago. It's a little bit better now, but there still are some problems for sure, and I totally acknowledge that. But just for me personally, because of the ease of having the library right there and having the marketplace where I can sell my stuff, it's where I got started, and it's where my library of assets are, so it's Roll20 that I use. But yeah, any virtual tabletop where you can upload maps and tokens, you would be able to use these maps and tokens and use isometric. Yeah, so let's take a little look in Roll20. I'm just sort of getting my windows set up here so I can kind of see everything that's going on. Okay, so so right now we are in a game that I have set up in Roll20, which I just fondly refer to as Bambii's Test Kitchen. It is where I just use my own assets. It's where I set up any sort of like shot that I'm going to like screen cap to make the covers for my different assets and that kind of thing. So just kind of my own little game that I set up. So basically, I'll just take off this map that I have here right now. Is this on the? This is on the map layer. This map right here is just this really simple tavern map. I just had it to start with here, but I think it's the only thing that's right now in this whole scene. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete that, and we'll just basically start from scratch. So I'll show basically the quick setup of oh, hey! Hi, Vivi. Welcome to the stream. So happy to see you. Yeah, I'm just talking a little bit about isometric maps and tokens. I was just about to say I'm going to start by doing kind of a little demo or like a tutorial of how I use and set up my maps in roll20, and then I thought it would be fun to also just do a tour of my library. I draw maps and tokens. I sell them on the marketplace on roll20. I also have a Patreon, and if you buy any of the assets, you also can just download the files and use them in any virtual tabletop of your choice. You could even technically print them out and then just place them on a table or use them in the same way that you would use a flat map. They function in the exact same way. So if you're already familiar with roll20, it's going to be basically the same way that you set up a top-down map. So the first thing I'm going to do, I would just make a new scene right up here at the top. And once you have your new page here that you're going to put the maps on, the first thing to do is just to turn off the grid completely. Roll20 does have a built-in isometric grid, and it's a newer feature. It's right here underneath the little grid type, and it just will make your token sort of like snap to an existing grid in the same way that a top-down token would snap to a square. But I personally don't tend to use that. Part of the reason is because I think it is a premium feature, so it may have changed now, but when they first introduced it, it wasn't available to all users. It was only available to the premium users. So for that reason, I'm just not going to include that in my setup. And also, to be honest, I find that the snapping to the grid is not really necessary, and with isometric it can actually just complicate things a little bit. The maps that I draw all have a built-in grid. There's a grid already right in the artwork. It's all sized. It's a 5-foot grid, exactly as sort of Dungeons and Dragons would ask of you. So I personally don't use the isometric grid, so I'm just going to completely turn the grid off instead. So that's basically the only thing we have to do in settings, so I'm just going to save that. And now we'll go to this page here. So we just have this totally blank, empty page. So roll20, oh, let me just grab my little roll20 window, there it is. I'm just going to move it up. I'm not sure if you can see the sidebar here, so I'm going to just change the size of this a little bit to make sure that you can see everything that I'm doing. There we go. Alright, so roll20 has layers. I'm not as familiar with other kind of virtual tabletop sites, but basically all that's really necessary is that you have at least a map layer and a token layer that are separate. That's basically it. Ideally, the map layer would also give me 1 second here. Cool. Yeah, so basically, ideally the map would be sort of like a locked layer, and then the tokens would be able to be moved without grabbing onto the map layer by accident. I'm just going to double check that my chat is showing up in this scene. It looks like it is not. So let me just see if I can fix that quickly. Yeah, that's sort of strange. I'm going to just quickly fix this scene. So I'm going to put it back to the just little starting screen, hopefully just for like 1 or 2 minutes, and I'll be right back. Okay. Okay, cool. So I think we are all good. Yeah, we should be good. All right, sorry about that. Just checking all of my little setup here. Really not the best at OBS and all this kind of thing, but we are a-okay. All right, so just getting back into my little roll20 here. Yeah, so just to pick up where I left off, the first thing I'm going to do is just drag in my map and just put it on the bottom layer there. So I'm going to go over to my little assets library here. For me, my marketplace purchases is basically where all of my own tokens are. These are all of my maps and tokens that are currently available and uploaded as sets to roll20. I have never bought anything else, so this entire section under purchases is my isometric art that I'm going to be using, and some top-down art as well. I've done a little bit of that too. So let me just grab a fun one. Let's see, what do we want to do? Let's just go back to the tavern maybe. Here's a nice tavern interior here, so I'm just going to drag that and drop that right on. And everything should be automatically sized. So that's right there. Now it's super easy. If I just go to the top layer here, where the tokens are, I should be able to just drag and drop basically anything in. Let's see, we can get a little monster in here, maybe get a giant crab. That one kind of is the same color as the floor, so maybe it's not the best. I'll do the blue crab instead. So yeah, just literally dragging it right over, and there it is. Now there's a crab in the tavern. Yeah, that's basically it. I have some tips and tricks as well. You can, reposition the little token here. This little toggle at the top will allow you to rotate it. Whenever I'm playing D&D, I usually, and somebody kills a monster, I usually just rotate it onto its back to show that it's dead. So that's very cute. I'll just put it back around. There you go. Let's put in some characters as well so we can just kind of get a sense of what this scene would look like. I'll go into my heroes. Let's see. Let's get a human fighter in here. Yeah, so as you can see, this is also partly just the way that the art is designed and set up. If you happen to use Roll20 and you buy any of the art packs directly in Roll20, they all are automatically sized, so everything is going to match. And for my maps in particular, as I sort of mentioned, you can see that there is a grid actually drawn into the floor here. So we have these sort of alternating colors of tiles, and that basically, these squares are basically kind of 5 feet. When you drag somebody in, they are scaled with this being sort of like a 5-foot square in mind, and everything should match, everything should fit together really nicely. So yeah, no need to snap to grids in my opinion. It makes it a little bit it's perfectly easy to manage without using that feature. So another fun thing that can make isometric just look a little bit better as well, I'm just gonna zoom in a little bit here, is to flip them. So the tokens, if you just right click and go to advanced here, just use the flip horizontal, and that will just basically flip it left and right, and then you can have your 2 sort of forward facing angles. Unfortunately, you can't show their back. It's funny because sometimes when I am playing, and my players as well, because everybody controls their own tokens usually in my game, people will be on Roll20 a couple of laptops or something. People get so used to being able to move their tokens in space really nicely that they kind of forget that they can't flip them the opposite way, that you can only have the 2 front-facing angles, that you can't face them towards the back because that would require a second piece of art, basically. But yeah, you can flip them to the front, so you can kind of I don't know, it's not 100% perfect, it's not a video game, it is still just a map for D&D, and I find that it looks really cute and nice, but obviously not perfect, and there always will be a little bit of adapting some stuff, making it work and that kind of thing. Cool. So yeah, so that's one of my tips, is just flipping horizontally. Another really big thing, so let's actually go, I'm gonna maybe just bring in a bigger, flatter map to demonstrate this next bit. So I'm just gonna go back to the map layer right here, and I'm going to delete this tavern map. Vivi, your imagination fills it out. I'm glad to hear it. Sometimes, yeah, sometimes your imagination fills it out so good that it's like, you don't remember that it can't turn a full 360. Okay, what else? What are some bigger maps? Let's see what we have in the tower builder set. Actually, road travel definitely has some big flat areas. Sure, we'll do this one. Road travel forest day. There we go. So yeah, this is just another map that I made. I'm gonna go through my maps and tokens. That it's sort of like a show and tell for the second part of the stream here. So just dropping that back onto the map layer, and I'm just gonna go back up to the tokens, or token layer. Also, by the way, just in Roll20 specifically, the sidebar here, the little hand is what you use to like drag and reposition like your camera, I guess, and this little arrow is just for selecting and moving tokens and stuff. Kind of annoying. I forget it almost every time and try and click and move, and it doesn't work. Hello, Tater. Welcome to the stream. Nice to see you. I'm just doing like a quick little tutorial for isometric maps and tokens in Roll20, which would also work for most other virtual tabletops. But it's really, really easy. We're basically done because it's basically just use it the same as a flat map and it just works and drags in already sized. If something happens to if you're not using Roll20 and you got the tokens on Patreon, or you just want to download the images and use it in a different virtual tabletop, then you may have to worry a little bit more about scaling. I'll quickly show how I go about doing that as well. Let's get another little guy in here. Maybe we'll get a rogue or a bard. Let's see. Maybe this. I really like this, like, drow painter bard. Yeah, they always come in sort of surprisingly small, and I'll kind of explain too, with this little resizing trick, why that happens. So, this little drow here, she may actually be a tiny bit too small. What I'll usually do to kind of like check the scale, the squares are 5 feet. So if I'll lie someone down, not completely like horizontal, but so that they would be horizontal like to the grid. And then I'll like put kind of the middle between their feet on, the bottom of one of the little grid squares, so that they're kind of like, lined up flat on the ground there. And then you can kind of see, like, if you imagine that this is 5 feet, this little drow character, this is her center, the center of her head she's probably like 4, 5, 6, something like that. That's usually how I sort of figured out. So if I wanted to make her 6 feet, I usually use 6 feet as like a general kind of guideline, and then like some characters like drow and stuff, like I don't know, elves maybe like a bit on the smaller side. Obviously there's like halflings and dwarves and that kind of thing, but yeah, like this would probably be around 6 feet or so. Something like that, if you imagine this square above divided into fifths. Anyways, I find that if you lay them down on the map, it's easier to see, because otherwise your temptation is going to be to make them too big. The 5 feet is a lot. Like if you imagine you in human life standing in a 5-foot square, then that's a big area actually. And the temptation is always to kind of, drag in the character and be like, oh, they're like on this square, then they should be like this big, but like, no. Tater, that's, yeah, mathing it, absolutely. Yeah, a lot of my mathing is kind of eyeballing, just kind of guessing. Okay, cool. So we have a little character in here. Let's get a couple more little humanoids. Let's get a little halfling. Oh, these are gnomes. We'll get a little gnome rogue in here. And then who else do we want to have? Let's just have a bunch of bards and rogues. Yeah, let's get an orc rogue in here too. Half orc. Okay, cool. So we have some little characters in here. So what I wanted to sort of show is how to deal with big monster tokens, because that is one of the issues that I hear about. I know that that's kind of like an issue with isometric, and I'll definitely be the first to admit that isometric is not 100% perfect. It definitely has strengths and weaknesses. I feel that, you know, top down also has strengths and weaknesses. There's like pros and cons to both, but there are some really cool things about isometric that I think make it worth it. For me personally, I really how cute a game looks, and like getting to draw to make the little scenes and little characters is a huge part of what I love about D&D. It's like really, really important to me. Just like as a dungeon master and as a player, it's just one of the things that I really love. So for me, isometric is worth it for those reasons, but it doesn't work for everybody. Okay, that being said, that little disclaimer, I absolutely know that one of the weaknesses of isometric is that is layering, because large objects would sometimes obscure objects behind them. And I know that that definitely can be of concern. So let me just sort of show a little bit what I mean and some ways to work around that. Tater, you like being able to see more than the top of your character's head and shoulders. Yeah, that's the thing, is that like for top down, oftentimes, like obviously maps work good. A top down perspective is very intuitive for a map. And I find some people tell me that they find it hard to orient themselves in an isometric map because it's more of this sort of diagonal. And the creatures usually look okay in top down, but humans, like humanoids, look really bad from top down. Like bipedal creatures, it's like a really bad weird angle that doesn't communicate anything about who that character is, and it's like not even easy to identify them from just top down. It's like a really just literally top of the head is very, very weird. So yeah, I like isometric more for that for sure. Hey Muse, welcome. Yeah, so I'm just gonna grab a big token here. Let's see what we have. Some of my biggest ones. Ooh, I have some really big fun ones, but I'll show them later. So I'll just do something kind of basic first. Let's do an ancient dragon. Let's do an ancient white dragon. So yeah, so these guys, as I said, like they are already sized out according to what size they are in the monster manual. You know, like large, gargantuan, whatever, like however many squares they occupy. This token should occupy that correct number of squares for that creature. So just like looking at this guy, it's probably like 4 by 4, right? It's kind of looking like that. So the first thing is that for a large creature like this, let me actually also find another example while I'm just saying this. For a large creature like this, the part of it is on the artist to make it work, to be honest, because it's possible to design things so that they kind of stay in their own territory, if you know what I mean. So like this guy, for example, 4 by 4 squares. This actually, maybe I shouldn't have chosen a map that was a little bit bumpy. I think it makes it a little bit harder to see exactly where the squares are. But yeah, maybe over here is a little bit flatter. So yeah, so you can see like on the ground here. Actually, I'll just look up and see how big an ancient dragon is in squares to make sure that we're getting this right. Wow, now it really is like I'm DMing. Ancient dragon, 5e size. How big are you, ancient dragon? Gargantuan. Okay, how many squares? It is gargantuan 5e. Yeah, 4 by 4. Okay, cool. Yeah. So, whoop. Okay, cool. All right. So, Tater the Tarrasque. I haven't drawn a Tarrasque. Maybe I should, to really prove my point that it's possible to have really big creatures. Okay, cool. So yeah, so one of the main things, you can like extend into adjacent squares along the like front 2 edges. You can kind of like see where I'm indicating here, but you don't, like the artist can design things so that they don't intrude into these 2 edges here. So for this dragon, for example, you can see that the wings are like super folded up into like a polite, skinny little shape. Actually, I can also show too. I have, like for example, I think I did it with this black dragon. Let's see. Yeah, I did. The black dragon here, this giant like fringe on its back, whoopsie, go away. It does extend up a little bit into the one behind, but I made it transparent, as you can see. So you want to be able to like see all the squares on the opposite side, and just design the like pose and the shape of the creature so that it only takes up its own area. And then that way, anybody who is standing adjacent on any of these squares that are behind, they can still be seen. Actually, I think that's even, yeah, I can even move this a little bit further forwards, yeah. So for the dragons, I made the choice for the heads to kind of protrude onto the square in front, but you can still stand on either side of it. Oh, another great tool as well in roll20, you can move the token to the front as well. You can like layer them that way to the front or back, or to just, yeah, rearrange how they're layered so that when it's in front, it'll cover a little bit. So yeah, so a character can be visible on any adjacent square, and even if we take like a little gnome character here, you can see that like this corner square here belongs to the dragon, so it would be this one up here. This one is maybe a little bit, oh, that one's maybe a little bit questionable. But yeah, basically, oh, there we go. So you should still be able to like see the little guy along the back or corners anywhere. And then the other thing too is that, sort of as you saw here, because the shape of the art is surrounded by a square, not by a little diagonal box, it means that there's these like big empty areas on the larger tokens that make it a little bit hard to grab objects that are behind them. So like for example, if my little gnome is fighting the dragon and is standing right here and stabbing in the tail, and then I like, you know, go to grab that gnome, I'm gonna accidentally grab the dragon, which is not ideal. So there's a few ways that I kind of can combat that. One of the major ones is for a large creature like this, if I was like DMing, thinking of like 100 things at once, you know, like flicking between documents or whatever, and just didn't want to worry about it, I would just put this dragon onto the map layer. So now I mean, I am the only one with access to the map layer. I'm the only one who can move it, but I'm the only one who's moving the monster tokens anyways. So now that dragon is like editable basically. And you cannot grab and select it from the token layer. So, I mean, even grabbing and selecting it from the token layer is also only actually a problem for me, because as the DM, I am the only one who can grab this. So this is kind of what it looks like for the players all the time. The players should always be able to grab their little guy. So that sort of like bounding box issue is really mainly a problem just for me, the DM. But if it is an issue, that's a great way to deal with it. The other thing that you can do, because the one problem with putting it on the map layer is that you can't use that really nice layering to like put this character slightly behind, you know, which the layering, it looks so good in isometric. I love how it looks. So, you know, it's like sad if she's standing there and she's on top a little bit. So the other thing that you can do too, I'll just put this back onto the token layer, and go back up to my tokens layer here. So sometimes what I'll do, this is like kind of silly, but it's not like, usually there aren't that many really big creatures like this, so you know, it is, I'm not saying this is perfect, but this is what I do to kind of like solve it. I'll mark out where the dragon is, sometimes like on just the actual layer itself so everyone can see if it's like confusing at all, or on the GM layer where it's like going to show up a little bit transparently. Oopsie, my mouse sort of jumped a little bit. Where it's going to be sort of invisible to the players. And I'll just like mark out where the dragon actually is. Oh, I'm kind of wrong about where this dragon is placed. Oh no, okay, I'll just put it here and then I'll move the dragon back. Yeah, so I'll just mark out where the dragon is, and then, oopsie. And then, so this is the dragon's little home here. And then I will literally just move the dragon, grab the people underneath, put them wherever I want them to be, and then put the dragon back. There you go. Yeah, and I mean, it can help too to clarify, because my tokens also don't have like a base on them. I did that with my very first set of tokens, and I don't know, I didn't like it. It does make it a bit easier to size and place tokens and to know with like the larger monsters which squares they're actually taking up and that kind of thing, but it didn't look as cute. So I stopped doing that, to my detriment. But this works also. So yeah, so oops, go back to my little, there we go. So yeah, that's also a way to do it, because, well, she's now on the top layer, but if I put her behind, then now, there we go, the dragon can go over them in that nice satisfying way, and your players can't see this red box, so it all just looks perfect to them. The other thing that I wanted to also show for the larger creatures, I don't know which pack it's in, let's just see, scroll through here, not that one, or actually my Underdark pack would also have a creature that I'm thinking of this. Yeah, so I also, I have these ogres too that I designed, and they're some of the earlier tokens that I made. So when I first designed them, they are, I did them in this sort of like standing position, and okay, I'm actually also going to just look up how big ogres are so I can make sure that I am getting this right. Okay, how big are ogres? They're probably 4x4. Let's see. How's my music and voice volume? Is everything sounding okay? Alright, they are large. How many squares is large? 5e. Large. Yeah, 4 squares. So yeah, so basically like these, you can see these 4 squares here, basically the space that they're meant to occupy. And this little standing ogre guy is basically staying in their lane. Like, you could stand on any of these adjacent squares and you would easily be able to see them. But also it's like, is that really like a large creature? I don't know. So once I had been sort of like testing it, I decided to design a second version as well. Okay, I'm glad that it's sounding good, Tater, thank you. So I made these sort of like alt poses, where they're in a weird, maybe a weird position for a humanoid, but the important thing is that they are staying in their lane. So they're only taking up these 4 squares, and you can very, very easily see and access any of the squares around them. So just because upright tokens, you would run into that issue more of like them blocking what's behind them. Like a quadruped, it's a little bit easier to design them so that they keep in their squares. But for the little ogres, anything like bipedal, oops, who just, oh, where did it go? I don't know, it's gone away. Who are like more of that upright shape, it's a little bit harder. So yeah, I have some sort of weird alt poses just in case. Thank you. Yes, do you like their little pig faces? Let's zoom in here a little bit. Cute little pugs. Everybody's cute. Don't even worry about it. And these two, most of the packs that I have uploaded, they do have the actual weapons that they have in their 5e stat block. Pyracantha, hello, welcome to chat. So nice to have you here. So yeah, so they must have like javelins or spears or something, because usually I try and keep it pretty accurate to what the stat block says that they actually have. Thank you. Yeah, I've never used them in a game, but maybe VV someday your party will have an ogre fight. That would not be good for you. Alright, cool. So yeah, so that's basically like a overview of how I use isometric. There's a few other things, like one of the things that I absolutely love about isometric that I think adds a lot, maybe I'll find a better map to demonstrate this. Sure. Well, actually, let's just go here. There's a bunch of people in this map. We're in a game that I have that is called Bambii's Test Kitchen, and it's just like where I set up like screenshots for promo and like covers and stuff, and also where I like test the sizing of everything. So I just have a bunch of like, this is just a very like behind the scenes, like I just have all these random pages where I've just dragged things in and then just never looked at it again. So who knows, but this one apparently has a bunch of guys. There's a whole bunch of people in here. But one thing that I do love about isometric is the differing heights. So you can really add that element of that sort of like extra dimension. I mean, there is literally a full extra dimension that you don't have in a top-down map. You can kind of like indicate, oh, this area is higher or lower, but it's so different and so much easier to see in isometric. So you can even like, for a dramatic height difference, you can even start introducing like high ground rules, like in Baldur's Gate, where there's like advantage if you're up like a certain number of squares, that kind of thing, which it can add like a really, really interesting element to a fight and just shake things up, add a much more strategic element, which I feel like adds so much to fights, to have like the dynamic kind of map and the dynamic setting that you can use a lot more. So yeah, I love that. I think that's a really cool thing about isometric. The other thing that's awesome about isometric, let's just go here and see what's here. Oh, indeed, yes. I was thinking of these maps, but this is not the one that maybe we'll just go somewhere random. This looks like there's nothing here. Yeah. I think this is where we started. Okay, so I'm just gonna get rid of some of these and then demo one thing else. Tater can finally determine if your rogue can in fact reach the top shelf. MVP, you think vertically is fun. Yeah, I can't wait to start introducing high ground rules into your very game. And in fact, I recently, in a game that I was running just last week, used the other cool mechanic that I am going to highlight, which is climbing and vertical challenges. Because with isometric, you can also have full like vertical maps. And yeah, you can see actually in this map here, and I actually have another one too that I can pull up. I have the squares, the grid also on the walls here. So it's sort of like also the like 5 feet, although it does look like it's maybe a little bit bigger than 5 feet. But so you can like use actual rules and proper mechanics and stuff for climbing, feet of movement, that kind of thing will be relevant in a way that sometimes it's just hard to communicate and hard to use in top-down map. Like a lot of characters, monsters, they have climb speeds, but like how often are you calculating like how many like feet of movement you're using when you're going vertically, right? Like I guess in like a physical like with minis you might, but even still it's like a lot of those rooms, like I don't know, you don't use the vertical space as much as I feel like you could. And in isometric you have so much vertical space to use. It's so cool. So yeah, that's like another aspect of isometric that I think is really unique and cool, is the use of the vertical space, the entire dimension that you have. And climbing challenges, high ground, all these kinds of things. It just makes it so much, it makes the space feel so immersive and dynamic, and you can strategize a lot better. You can introduce new mechanics, new challenges, and that kind of thing when you have like all this extra space to work with. So that's just something that I think is neat. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to talk about specifically about kind of how to use isometric or like tutorial type stuff. Let me know if you have any like questions or concerns. Let me know what does or like doesn't work for you with isometric. And I'll see if I can answer it or agree if it's a weakness. Other than that, I'm gonna start going through a little bit of a show and tell time. Kota, hello, welcome to the chat. Nice to see you. All right, so I'm gonna kind of just go through Oh, Tater, how would flight work? That's such a great question, and also relevant too to swimming. And I have a map where I do have swimming. Um, let's, yes, right here. So this map here, I love this one. I'll demo the full thing too, and I'm going through my library a little bit more. So as you can see, like this map has this huge underwater section, which is obviously intended to be swum around in, but indeed this is turning into a little bit of like 4D chess, you know, like in terms of like how you actually measure things, and like be really specific about swimming. And it would be the same thing for flying too, right? And to be totally honest and to answer your question, I tend to eyeball it / use my heart a little bit. And yes, that is kind of hard. I think that like top down, it's a little bit easier to calculate, like I guess the horizontal movement or the horizontal distance, because you can kind of like extrapolate, right? So like, let's make this octopus one, like fit onto one square. So like, say that this octopus is like up here. Say that this like, okay, so like to this square here, say the octopus is like up here. Then I'll kind of like count down on the ground, you know, like, you know, it's 6 feet or whatever, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, and then kind of like move it, you know, you can kind of calculate ish where it would be. I don't know if that's a little bit of just like, developing a little bit more of an intuitive sense of like how isometric space. So let me know if that seems something like conceivable, something that would be possible. But it is, and then in terms of like height, if it's like starting like here, I don't know, like I kind of just use my heart. Like I would guess that this is probably like, I don't know, like 4, 5 squares up. Maybe this would be like 5, something like that. There is a built-in ruler, in roll20, which I don't really know how to use, to be totally honest, and I don't really use, but a lot of people do use a lot. Like I think that I'm maybe just not a rulesy enough DM that I feel like I need to use that guy. But yeah, it is here. This is the ruler tool, and I don't really know what it does. But I will say, I think probably you would have to have the isometric grid enabled. But the isometric grid is built into roll20 and is calculated based on a 5-foot square, kind of like assumption, and my maps and tokens do snap to the correct size to be used with the isometric grid. So theoretically the ruler should work for isometric as well as for top down, and you can use that to calculate like diagonal distances, heights from the ground, those sort of like more finicky measurements you can use the ruler tool for. But yeah, I guess I honestly use isometric. Like almost all of my fancy stuff that I do on the drawing end, and when it comes to using it as an actual map, it's so basic. Like I mostly just use like literally drag in the map, drag in the token. So yeah, I guess that's my answer to that question. But part of the answer is you're right, that's hard, and it's kind of hard to figure it out with your brain. Okay, I'm gonna take a little sip of water and then I'll go through my library a little bit. Okay. Cool. Wow, just like sitting and looking at my screen like this instead of drawing on stream, my back feels much better. Much better. Okay, cool. So yeah, let's have some show and tell time. Let's go to this page here that I set up. I'm gonna take all this stuff out of here. Get out of here. And yeah, I guess let's look at some maps first. I'm getting to the point where I have like a really big library in Roll20. I have a Patreon and I release stuff every month. I release at least like 5 to 10 tokens per month. I don't have like a guaranteed number of maps that I release because maps are so much work. But I have a lot of maps already, and a lot of them are kind of like customizable and stuff. So there's quite a lot to work from. So I mostly want to do isometric today, but I guess it's just maybe worth mentioning that I do also have top-down maps, although I haven't drawn them in a really long time. I sort of like switched over to isometric like a couple years ago, and I've been really just focusing on that. But I have like, here's a kind of cute top-down map, this little camp and a dragon skeleton. I did, when I very first started DMing at the beginning of the pandemic, I was working on, I was doing a game that was called Goblin Raid, that was a top-down game. Thank you so much for the follow, also welcome. Yeah, so a lot of my top-down maps are kind of goblin-y themed because I was working on this game that took place in this sort of like monstery forest at the time. Yeah, all of the main characters were goblins, and they were always doing little, like, I don't know, silly adventures. There was like a really silly tone to that game, so I drew a lot of maps for them. That's when I started selling maps on Roll20, and I was just selling what I was making for my own game. So yeah, so like it just so happens that I was drawing top down during that time when I was doing Goblin Raid. So yeah, that is why these maps, they have a kind of a vibe to them. I guess we can look at a couple more of them, but I do think that this one is really cute. Little like dragon skull that has some like tents in it, and the ribs you can see has like a little bit of a roof built into it, little campfires. Arthur, you are summoned by Muse at the mention of D&D. Oh, you guys are all cottage friends. Oh, that's so lovely. Welcome. It's so nice to have you here. Yeah, the cottage is such a sweet and chill space. It's so nice. And Tater, a game of nothing but goblins and kobolds. It kind of was a game of nothing but goblins and kobolds. I mean, they were all, the PCs were all goblins. And they came from a little goblin village. Actually, you know what, speaking of which, I'll show you the map for the village. Actually, maybe the map for the village isn't here. I think it might not be. Okay, give me a second. I think I might have to take it from my own personal files. Yeah, let me grab that. But yeah, they had all their little like goblin villager NPCs, and then there were a couple kobolds also in the village, and there was a little kobold family that lived nearby and that kind of thing. So the sort of theme of the game was that everybody were like small monster folk, like, you know, halfling sized, all the sort of like halfling sized forest monster folk were the PCs and kind of the heroes of the game. And then it was a little bit of a high fantasy or like medieval fantasy parody. And hey Ariane, welcome, nice to see you. So yeah, we're talking about D&D. I'm just sort of showing off stuff that I've drawn and just chatting about D&D for a little bit, taking a break from rigging and that kind of thing. So yeah, it was sort of like a parody of kind of a high fantasy world or like a medieval fantasy game. All of the protagonists were the little monster folk of the forest, and some bigger monster folk later too, or some fun NPCs. And then the villains were sort of the like murder hobo PCs. Like they were kind of like caricatures of player characters. You know, there was like the super serious party that were like completely on the side of like order and like against chaos and all that kind of thing, and that just like, you know, were against monsters just kind of like on principle. And they were like, you know, they all talked in like cool mysterious voices, and they were always trying to like, you know, make speeches about like, you know, morals and that kind of thing. And then there was the other villain party was like just a party of complete murder hobos that were just like horrible, like always just like pushing the limits and like you know, like tormenting. There was like a neighboring little town of halflings called Butterberry Vale that was like you know, a little like starter town kind of vibe. Just like some cute halflings that would like host all of these villain hero parties when they were like starting their quests, and the murder hobos would just be like horrible to them, you know, like totally just bullying the townsfolk, like stealing from them, and just like messing with things, like just doing weird things that you can tell were just sort of like an inside joke or whatever to that group of players. But the halfling townsfolk like unwaveringly just loved them. Like there was like nothing that they could do wrong, no matter how horrible they were. And everyone was just like, oh yes, the heroes of the realm, like we're so thankful they get like free drinks all the time, and then they're just like the worst people you've ever met in your entire life. So yeah, I'll just quickly drag in the little goblin market, because I drew this and then only for my own game. I did not release any more packs to Roll20 when at the time that I was like drawing this, so this is one is I guess exclusive or whatever. So this was a little like goblin market. This is like their town square. So you can see there's like one thing about my goblin town and my goblin culture was that they would often signify like what the business was or what their job was with just a giant object that was of the type or whatever. So like, you know, we have our weaponsmith here that's just kind of like made out of different weapons, and then the armory where you could go to get your like blacksmithing and your forge and everything is in a giant helmet. Everything was just very silly and thematic in that game. This is the sort of town hall where the princess who resided over the town lived. She was the town leader, held the title of princess, but was elected. It was an elected position of who got to be princess, and her name was Princess Onion. And Tater, you do not want to go by the goblin brothel. I think it could be nice. I'm goblin sex positive. And then I also have the interiors. I can't even remember. I drew this like a couple years ago. I don't know what's gonna be in here. So yeah, this is like, I mean, my sizing is not good because I'm just dragging these in. But yeah, here's the interior of some of these businesses. Yeah, this is the little like town hall here, and then the armory. Oh, this little caravan was like a kobold trader who would come into town and was very sneaky and cute. Yeah, there's the inside of the armory. Oh, this was sort of like a little herbalist, like witch's hut that was kind of like the cleric that could like heal and sell potions and that kind of thing. And yeah, oh, this was a warg stable. There you can see there's like some like giant animal bones in the like architecture of the stable here. So that was what was sort of indicating that was where the livestock and like the pack animals and stuff were. So this was, yeah, there was like wargs that you could rent to ride on. And then yeah, this is the little goblin tavern. And you can see also that this style is a little bit like more slapdash and scribbly, partly because this is not an asset that I sold. This is just for me, for my own game. So anyways, yeah, so that's Goblin Raid. So the reason that I went on that tangent is because I was just explaining that a lot of these top-down maps that are for sale and that I did like properly finish have kind of that goblin vibe to them, like this dragon camp that I had mentioned. And then I think this is just a really boring fort. That one's not interesting. It has like different layers and stuff. But this one is cool. This is these like ruins, sort of flower clearing. There was also in Goblin Raid there was these two like great unicorns that were the sort of like warlock patrons to some of the to one of the goblin players that were sort of out in the forest. So yeah, that's my flowery grove, and then there's a daytime version as well. Yeah, it's called literally Unicorn Ruins, I think, which is strange that I named it that for it being a asset that I actually sell, since that's really only relevant to me. Muse, I'm goblin sex positive. It's a wonderful quote. Well, you know. Oh my gosh, definitely orc sex positive too in this house. Oh my god. Okay, cool. So yeah, so daytime ruin as well. Oh, get out of here. And then, oh, this one's really fun. I hope I have all the layers. Yeah, I do. So this one was, there was like a rival town that was another town of goblins that were aquatic goblins. It was like a town that was located behind a waterfall and like built into like the cliff face, and these goblins had sort of like morphed into these sort of like semi-aquatic creatures. They had like little gills and just sort of different weird fish features. When we get to the goblin pack, a lot of these characters are in there as well. But yeah, they sort of had like evolved into these watery little goblin creatures. So they had this semi-aquatic town, part of which was like underwater. So I think I do, let's see if which layer is which. Yeah, you know, that is accurate. Yeah, so this was the bottom layer, and then the idea was that like they, behind the waterfall was this like ancient temple, and then they had like built their town sort of in the ruins of this temple, but then just sort of did their own thing. All throughout the forest of Goblin Raid, there was this sort of like ancient druidic culture that had left these ruins and these giant statues everywhere, and the druidic statues are very, very silly. That's what's really important. So like you can see here, like here's the face of this big statue that's like submerged in the water, and it's got this like silly, there's like a giant hand, and then you can see the sort of like giant feet right by the door, the entrance to the waterfall temple. Muse, Bambii's. Yeah, I used to play an orc named Turnip for a long time in a game that Muse DM'd, and I love her. She's my favorite ever. And actually, I put her as an NPC into the game that I am currently DMing. I can't help but do that, but like make old PCs into new NPCs. But in my like little starting town, Turnip is runs the stable, and she takes care of all the horses, and she charges a deposit that you get back if you bring the horse back alive, because she hates when adventurers treat horses as disposable and just get them eaten by monsters and stuff. So yeah, this was the bottom level of the, and one thing also that you can kind of see about this map, I hope I don't go this in depth into everything that I show, because this is going to take a really long time. So the idea was that because this goblin town was like semi-aquatic, the map and the town was also semi-aquatic. It was like the first level was underwater, and then as it went up, the houses were like partly submerged, and then they had parts that were out of the water as well. So I was thinking when I was drawing this map about like what being underwater would like mean for like a space, because you know, you can't just, it kind of bothers me when like you go underwater in a D&D game or a video game or whatever, and it basically just acts like dry land, and like the different, you know, gravity and stuff like isn't really taken into consideration. So like that's why down on this layer everybody has hammocks instead. I fully also just made this up. I don't know if any of this would actually check out, but everybody has hammocks instead of like beds that almost close, so it's like you could like crawl in there and kind of stay in place to sleep. And then also a lot of these, like this sort of little shop area here, it has like nets that are kind of holding all of this stuff in place. And yeah, you can see too here, there's like, yeah, like a little rope here that's holding this chest in place, like another little net, like everything is kind of kept from drifting around or like moving too much in the water. So yeah, so that's I gotta go a little bit faster than this. Yeah, so that's that layer there, and then next layer up, of that same town. So you can see that it's like that bottom layer was underwater, but then this layer is starting to come out of the water a little bit, and you can actually see that the leggies of that temple, like of that giant statue, are continuing up here. You can see them under the water there, and then yeah, you can see like where the edges of the water are, as the houses have these little hatches leading down into the aquatic sections, and then now the water is like starting to lap a little bit more on these onto this next level up. Yeah, there's like some little bridges that are sitting on the water, little boats, that kind of thing. This is like a little cart that you can use a rope to sort of pull yourself back and forth between these two houses. And then the final layer, the very top one, so that's just a dry area, just a normal normal one for this. Yeah, anyways, that's that. So that was my aquatic goblin town. And it has an exterior as well. This is because I mean, this was like a major part of the game, so this is the waterfall exterior, and then you can see the little like windows carved in to the waterfall here, where there's like a little town inside. Okay, cool. Yeah, so that's the waterfall, and this is just this fort. It's boring. I'm only going to show the fun ones. This garden had like a little cottage in it, and it was like a protected little sort of garden in the forest that had a powerful NPC in it. The house though is not on this map because the house had feet and could run around, so it was separate. So it's just a garden. But the house was there. It went like, I think, in this area where the pink flowers are. Vivi. Yeah, Vivi named her horse Megatron. So they actually came with names, but then obviously my players disagreed, and we ended up, I think we had some with their original names, so we ended up with like Whiskey Pepper and Megatron. Alright, so yeah, that was that one. Oh yeah, the dragon skeleton also has a daytime version, I forgot. Yeah, and then this one is really fun too. So this one is this was just like a setting for like a battle. And but it's just another one of these sort of like druidic sort of temples that has these kind of silly statues. So the other thing too was this was also had to do with these like magical unicorns that lived in the forest. So it's sort of like this unicorn temple, and they were like these super ancient beings that were also worshipped by the druids. All the offering plates for all of the statues are like just them holding their big hands out. But because it was like this unicorn temple, and they didn't know it was a unicorn temple when they first got there, so to sort of hint at it, this giant statue here had like a big tree growing out of like where the horn would be, to sort of indicate that like magic. And then yeah, there's also this like a lot of horned creatures here, and the other little statues, little deer statue. And oh yeah, also cannot recommend enough, if you are doing top down, mazes as like a type of encounter are so cool and useful. And I'll usually, like in Roll20, you can set up dynamic lighting so that basically I'll use the one where the players just have like a little radius of light, and then the entire rest of the map is blacked out. So they can see only like the little tiny square that they're in, and then they obviously can't see the greater map, so it really has that feeling of like going through a labyrinth. And like that's it, that's your session prep done. Like I've run just like mazes with monsters and stuff in them a couple times, and it's really, really challenging. Like they have to try and draw in real life, like keep track of where they are in the maze, and like even a fairly simple maze, like they'll get lost super easily, and it just is a really, in terms of like making maps and encounters just like more interesting and challenging and like really using the space, it is a really cool one. I really, really like it. And you can do like maps that are tunnels and stuff too. I think I have one also that is giant insect tunnels, but they basically form like a map like that, or like a maze like that. I'm just gonna show like a couple more of these. I have a graveyard also. That one's kind of boring, but it does have some kind of cute little statue-y guys. Yeah, I think that's all the interesting stuff from this pack. I'm gonna get rid of these. But yeah, this is mostly I wanted to show isometric stuff. I just kind of got sucked into a tunnel being like, I also do top down, or I did top down at one point. Yeah, I have like also a set of like basic kind of building tile type maps. So that's like, I don't know if you can see like along the side here, but like these are more just like textures, or like kind of you can make your own. I do think that this swamp is pretty nice. But they're like a little bit more neutral, so I have those. Oh, I have a cute houseboat also in that top-down set. This is for this like tiefling salesman character who would pop up and like trade magic items with them. Go to Bambii, keep up the great work. You're talented and inspirational. Aw, that's so nice. Thank you so much. That's so lovely to say. Well, magical tree. So yeah, this map just was like a bunch of basic maps and then a bunch of like overlays that you could like drag in onto the textures and kind of like make your own kind of situation. Little tiny cottage that has a little roof. Yeah, so these are just like you can drop them in, build your own thing a little bit more. Little mushroom house. These still have the goblin-y kind of vibe. These are still from that kind of era, so they still have a bit of a kind of silly feeling. Oh, little tiny well. Little, oh, go away. Yeah, little well there. So that is, yeah, another top-down pack. And then for top-down characters, I have a lot of character. Mostly I do tokens more than maps, to be honest, and I still do top-down like bust type tokens. I'm not going to drag those all in, but I'll kind of just like show by like going down the side here. But I still publish token packs of like busts, so I have like quite a lot now, which I'll also go through. But if you are interested in top-down, then you can use these. Part of the reason that I stopped doing top-down maps is because I think there's just like so many, and there's some really, really good ones. I love like a 2-minute tabletop, for example, or that kind of thing, and like there's a lot of maps out there that I feel like match my style really well. And I was kind of like looking at some of these for reference and that kind of thing, like getting ideas. And at a certain point, I was like, I feel like people can just use these. Like, I don't know, it's not, you know, there's a lot out there already. And then when it comes to like the tokens, I feel like that is like more where I have fun and where my style shines through a little bit more. So anyways, so yeah, so this token pack is like NPCs and villains for a woodland setting, which is again kind of like a goblin-y kind of setting. This is a centaur. It has like a person with horse eyes and ears. This is that little tiefling who ran that houseboat. Little druid. These are some dryads, which I based on the art of Brian Froud, who is the artist behind like one of the major artists from Jim Henson's Creature Shop, who did like a lot of stuff on Labyrinth and was like the main sort of mind behind the Dark Crystal. So I absolutely love his art. He's just the absolute best. Yeah, these dryads are kind of like based on that, on his art a bit. They have that kind of like fae design a little bit. Anyways, yeah, so, and then little dwarf guy, we'll be talking about her again later. These characters here were basically like Eladrin or like elven type fae. There was like a little caravan that had come from the Feywild, and so I gave them these like really crazy exaggerated ears and like the super long eyelashes. I went for super long eyelashes instead of eyebrows, like they have in World of Warcraft, but they're just meant to have like more of a Fey, kind of like Feywilds look to them. So that is what they were. And then this was like meant to be kind of a half-orc who was also from the Feywilds, who had a bit of that vibe also. Yeah, these were some of my hero characters that were sort of villains. She is this Furbolg druid who is also a villain, and oh, I love her. She's like a fae, like just talking fox who sold potions and stuff to the little goblins. Yeah, little ghost. These two little gnomes we also will be hearing from later. And yay, this one is, so this is a half goblin, half halfling character, who ran a owlbear sanctuary, which was a really, really fun dungeon because, basically the rule was that you it was like this giant cave system of owlbears, but it was like an owlbear sanctuary, so the owlbears were like super hungry monsters and definitely wanted to kill and eat you, but it was illegal to kill them, or really to hurt them because you were on a sanctuary, so they had to like they basically got like fined a huge amount of gold for every owlbear that they killed, so they had to try and like find workarounds or like other ways to defeat them and to navigate their cave system without hurting any of them. Some halfling townsfolk and some little guards. They interacted mostly with the guards from the halfling town, as I'm sure you can imagine, and the rangers, because they were always just trying to sneak and steal. Oh, she was also one of my PC caricature characters. Little mushroom witch from the forest. Oh, this was from my murder hobo party. Little tiefling, big titty, purple tiefling PC parody character. And then there was this like traveling troupe of actors that they ran into as well. Oh yeah, an cute undead zombie guy, and then a hot undead vampire lady. They were part of a very fun little graveyard arc. Werewolf girl in human and werewolf form, and then oh, here's one of the unicorns. Yeah, and there was another one up at the top as well, and a hag. Yeah, there was also, this is one of the magical unicorns that lived in that sort of ruins, and offered like warlock powers. Okay, so yeah, that's that one, and I showed this one. So yeah, so a lot, I will go through this faster because this is not from a game that I ran, these are just tokens, but a lot of the top-down like bust packs that I currently have are sort of like fantasy species specific. So I have like a tiefling pack, I have an elf pack, and a human one, half orcs. I don't have all of the species in like the basic rules done yet. I still need to do gnomes. No, I think I might have gnomes. I can't remember. I definitely need to do dwarves and halflings still. And then other than that, I think I have everybody. But yeah, I have like this tiefling set. I really try and keep like their faces all really different and diverse. I try and have like a lot of fun with the shapes and with the character and that kind of thing. I think that for my particular style of like DMing and my style of drawing and my assets, I think, oh, this here is actually my Baldur's Gate 3 character. I just snuck her in there. I think that they're best used if you kind of use the token for inspiration and then build off of it, like find something that you like that, or like let the token kind of inform what the character would be like, rather than trying to find a token to like match. If you have like a really specific established token in your mind, or a really established character in your mind, then these are like, they're pretty like, you know, unique and specific. You may not be able to find a good match, but I think that the tokens themselves kind of like like imply character, so they can work well that way. Strawberry Mochi, hello, welcome. We're just showing off and talking about some maps and token assets for virtual tabletops, mostly for Dungeons and Dragons. So yeah, these are my tieflings. Oh, there she is again. There is overlap. Hey look, it's Muse! I forgot that Muse was in here. But yeah, when I was doing this pack, I asked Muse if I could do a little secret cameo. So, yep, there they are. And then also an alt color. Uh-oh, what's going on there? I don't know. You tell me. Oh yeah, this little, like, warlock. Oh yeah, sorry. Go back up. Yeah, you've definitely seen this before. But yeah, there you are. It's before I made you a new model. But yeah, little cameo. And then alt color also. Yeah, I think that this tiefling lady is also pretty cool. I usually try and do like a variety of like different characters, and like I usually try and have some like kind of maybe like nobles or like aristocracy or something. A little clown, sad tiefling clown. Yeah, so yeah, these are my little tieflings, little space wizard of some kind. Yeah, I usually try and have lots and lots of different like variety of like ages and like just townsfolk, heroes, like NPCs, that kind of thing. Sad demon clown. Well, she's a tiefling. I don't know if she's necessarily a demon. I think maybe she just is a sad theater kid. So that's the tiefling character pack. These two are two of my favorite top-down sets ever. I absolutely love monsters, if you couldn't tell. Also, a lot of these, I mean, I have been doing these for like 3 or 4 years. Most of them were published before D&D 2024, so they still say monster races or like the refer to that, but it is species now, and I definitely like that way better. But for search engine optimization, I had to put as they're actually called in D&D into the name of the pack. So yeah, a little disclaimer there. I am gonna update that when I upload my next pack though. So yeah, I am obsessed with monster species. I think they're the best ever. Muse College of Tragedy Bard. Yeah. Sad Clown Bard College. Love it. Yeah, I'm obsessed with monsters, and I had so much fun working on this, and it's still some of my favorite tokens I've ever done. I am definitely aware that, like, even though I draw a lot of just, like, heroes and townsfolk and that kind of thing, really maps in D&D are for combat. You're gonna die if you try and have a map for literally everything, for like every location that your players go to. It's like limiting, and it just isn't really what maps are for. So having just like NPC tokens or like villager tokens is like not always as useful as having villains and enemies, and that's just sort of like how D&D works. So I definitely keep that in mind when I'm drawing, and when I was doing these monster packs, I was trying to strike a balance of like being aware that that is the utility of tokens, and that like in most cases, if you're using a map and you have a token on it, it's because you're in combat and the token is representing an enemy. But at the same time, I really wanted to have like diversity in my monster characters and not have them all be villains, or like typecast as like evil and that kind of thing, because I really don't believe in that. And like obviously, I mean, I ran an entire game that was like all monsters, and I think that they're so wonderful and I love them very much. And so I was, yeah, sort of like striking a balance between including those enemy characters and having some like more fun and interesting, sort of inspiring, you know, people to create monster characters that are fun and like for all sorts of different purposes other than just enemies. So yeah, I have my little bugbears here. This one is a fancy bugbear. All of the fur is kind of like pushed up. Oh wait, no, these are not. Are these bugbears? Yeah, these are bugbears, not hobgoblins. I have hobgoblins in here too, so I was just wondering which one it was. But yeah, the fluffy guys are bugbears. This one is like a monk or like a sort of ninja type bugbear, and then yeah, gotta have some like bandits and like fighters and that kind of thing. and that little guy. I love them so much. Fluffy little like goblin creatures. What could be better? Actually, fluffy big goblin creatures. This one I think is cute. Little blushy cheeks. And then this sort of like old wizardy one. Oh my god. Oh, the little kobolds. I'm obsessed with them. They're so cute. These are my little kobolds. There's another fancy one. This little like piratey guy. This was the like kobold trader from my game. Some of them are really freaking cute. Look at this little kobold with the little flowers. And then this little like potion kobold. This one was really, really fun. And then the little firefly lantern kobold. I think that one is really, really cute also. And knife kobold. And then also in this pack we have some full orcs. And yeah, here they are. A lot of like warriors. And some magic users too. Maybe like healer, that kind of thing. I am absolutely obsessed with orcs. I love them. I love them so much. Tater, you want a frog blinking kobold? Oh my god. Yeah, definitely kobolds are doing that sort of Pixar blink where they do like one eye at a time. I wonder if I can do it with my model. Let's see. Blink, 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 blink. Yeah, so it's a bunch of orcs. I think that they're really neat and I like them a lot. This was a orc like he like ran a ferry business to like bring people across to a little island in my game. Oh yeah, and then there's another bugbear down here, I think just because it didn't load the first time I uploaded it, so it's at the bottom. So yeah, this is my first little monsters pack. Probably the kobolds are my favorite part of this. I just think that they're really nice. Oh, but the bugbears are really good too. And then I have another pack of monsters as well. These are some Kenku! The Kenku were a fun challenge because I wanted them to be really different. Like I really pride myself on having super different face shapes and really different character for all of the tokens, and a lot of personality and that kind of thing. But Kenku are ravens, like they have raven heads. So when I first was approaching it, I was like, how do you make ravens all look different from each other? And it took a little bit of time, but I ended up making them all really different from each other. So yeah, they ended up being like pretty different shapes. Like there's a little tiny guy, and then this is like a Skeksis from like the Dark Crystal or something, and then yeah, different like personality. This one's just a guy. This one's really cute. Little archer. And then we have some Goliaths down here. They were also really fun to do. There's a Goliath in here, this one here. I love her, and she's kind of like a druid healer as well. Yeah, she's sort of like a peaceful kind of like monk healer druid kind of character. This guy I think is cute. He's just like a farmer or something. And this is like a Goliath kind of academic or maybe spellcaster of some kind. And then, oh my gosh, yes, gnolls. I love gnolls. We have some wonderful little hyena guys. All the way from like much more sort of like animalistic. I love this little guy. And then, yeah, some more kind of like anthropomorphic ones. And then there's some giants in here, cyclops, and then sort of hill giants. And then these are the hobgoblins, only 2 of them. And then lizard folk as well. I also wanted to make sure that the lizard folk looked really different from the kobolds, to make sure that it was like very clear, and also still to keep everybody having really different shapes. But I think that we have these sort of like iguana-y type guys here, very different from both kobolds and from dragon folk, like really more lizard folk looking, so, or than dragonborn. So yeah, so these are my little lizard folk guys. And then skeletons. I had to do a super cute one. I feel like my affinity for monsters is really coming through. I just love them. So yeah, we have wonderful little skeletons. And then a storm giant. You guys like the derp. You think they're cute. That's nice. Yeah, cute skeleton. It's very possible. Okay, so yeah, so that, now we're gonna get into it. Well, actually, I'll check maybe if I have any other top-down ones and just finish doing all of those, and then we can get into isometric, which was my original intention. But this is just Bambii show and tell, to be honest. I'm just sort of going through everything that I have in my library. This is my human character token pack. Kind of boring comparatively, but you need to have them. So yeah, these are just humans. These are townsfolk to start with. Again, just trying to make sure that like are really different. There's like, I usually try and have some children too. So there's, oh yeah, and there's a little baby in the human pack. That's nice. Bandits, again, because, you know, usually it's villains is like why you have a map, so you gotta have bandits and like fighters and stuff. And then I did usually I do some like classed heroes. A lot of those also honestly to probably be villains or enemies of some kind. So, you know, these ones are sort of like martial, like fighter type classes, but could also definitely be used as like NPCs, villains, henchmen, that kind of thing. This one's sort of a monk, a ranger, and then we have a couple of bards. I do think that bards also make great villains, I have to say. I think they're really like underutilized as villains, and there's a lot of potential there. But, you know, this is also for all of your sort of human needs for D&D, so these are maybe NPCs or even PCs as well. Some different casters, some rogues, and then this is, yeah, these ones are just called NPC because they're kind of just more distinctive. This is some sort of like spider queen lady, piratey kind of person, some sort of artificer. Oh yeah, I usually also try and have a few characters in each pack that are like maybe not 100% like human or elven or whatever the pack is, just because I do think that like in a fantasy world there would be like a lot of diversity, and there would be a lot of different kinds of people, so maybe there's a little bit of sort of magical heritage or like heritage of some other species mixed in there. So this person maybe has like a little bit of a orc or goblin ancestry somewhere, so I usually try and mix that in too. And then yeah, so my aristocracy, and then yeah, some overlap from my Goblin Woods characters pack. And then half orcs. Oh yeah, see this again is like sort of an aquatic half orc, maybe mixed with like a mermaid or something like that. But yeah, just there's just so much magic. There's a little baby in the half orcs pack also. I think that guy's really cute, to be honest. And then some bandits. And then these are sort of like classed. Oh, these are still maybe villagers. No, these are classed characters. Sort of some more orcish and some like less orcish kind of characters. This is maybe like a part orc, part drow kind of character. A magic user, artificer, nobility, and then some casters, a monk with tattoos. And then, yeah, some sort of like aristocracy again. This one I kind of based on Adam Driver. I kind of, you know, when everybody has like such a different face, you kind of have to draw on different inspirations. Yeah, this is maybe, I thought maybe like a part tabaxi, part orc. What do we think? Is that anything? And then part orc, part tiefling. And then just some cute villagers and townsfolk. This is kind of Turnip. This is sort of based on my character Turnip that I played for a long time, but maybe like before her arc as an adventurer, back when she was just like a farm girl who loved pigs. And then yeah, another little kid. And yeah, these are villagers, another child. Oh yeah, a werewolf half orc. And then yeah, some bandits and heroes that are overlapping from my other packs. Okay, half orc. I'll finish off the characters. This is my goblin pack, which was the first pack that I ever released, and is kind of why I started selling tokens, because I had drawn these for my own game, and then I decided to offer them on the internet. So I mentioned earlier that my game had like a town of aquatic goblins in it that had sort of like a semi-submerged village, and these are the goblins who live there. So they have the kind of like fins, the like gills and frills and that kind of thing. So I tried to put the fins in like sort of different places, like not uniform, or like to express their like aquatic nature in different ways. I sort of thought that like some of the goblins had like at different times been in different sort of like magical armies or that kind of thing, like undergone kind of magical transformations as part of like villainous plots, and so there was just sort of like some sort of mutations or like diversity in the goblins of the forest because of that, mixed with different kinds of monsters and that kind of thing. So we have these aquatic little guys, and then this sort of like tiefling-ish kind of guy. This is sort of a dragonborn-ish kind of a goblin, and a little werewolf goblin. And then, the rest are more, well, more just goblins, but still very silly. So we have some bandits in here. And this one has a little eye patch. It's not doing very much. I love her. I think she's cute. She kind of has little, pleading eyes, like me. Oh! I wanted to try and remember to use my little emoji or my little emotes more often, and I keep forgetting about them. Where was I? Oh so we have single eye patch that's not doing anything, and then we also have double eye patch, and so many earrings, and bandits. The town was mostly a town of sort of like raiders. I mean, the name of the game was Goblin Raid, so that's where a lot of these people are coming from. I really like her too, little sort of froggy goblin guy. Flies. This mushroom one. And then some magic users. So even for this one, even though I do have like a lot of bandits, and kind of like what you would kind of typically use like if you are fighting goblins, I also wanted to make sure that I included just like some more PC or NPC, just sort of like normal, like for sort of multiple different uses. So I have these sort of like different adventurer classes with this druid goblin, and then there's a wizard, this little rogue with these two cross knives, and a little knight, which I think is so cute, ranger, and then this sort of just magic user, and another little magic user with a little flame guy there. And then I also wanted to include a bunch of just like regular villagers, like not nasty scrappy little forest guys, but just like in a normal town. Like if there was like just a normal town. So we have just some like goblin, just NPCs, like little villagers. There's like a little child as well. And some little farmers, shopkeepers, and some aristocracy as well. I love this little goblin prince. So many goblins. This little straw hat guy. Another aristocracy. This was Princess Onion. She was signified as a princess because of her onion hat. This was the king of the aquatic goblins, who was a villain in my game. This was the guy who ran the warg stables. I also, because I mentioned that like all of the different buildings would be designated for what was done there by like having a giant object that would just like be related to the business that was done inside. And it was the same thing for the different tradespeople in the town, or like everybody, to sort of designate what their job was. They would have like a hat that was an object relating to their job. It was like an important part of goblin culture in that town, was to have a hat that said something about who you were. So we have the warg captain there, who runs the warg stables and has a warg hat, and then we have the armorer who has just this maul on their head. I think his name was Tall Paul, and his place was called Tall Paul's moles, so that's why that's on there. And then the armory, they're just like a gauntlet hat. And just another random aquatic goblin. Maybe they give you the hat when you get the job. Yeah, exactly. That's how you know. That's how you have to earn the hat. It's a sign of honor. All right, and then elf and half elf character tokens. So yeah, again, we're gonna have just like some bandits, and then this is a sort of important NPC in that game. And then yeah, some of these are overlapping from other packs, but then yeah, we have those arrows are supposed to be like in her ponytail. I hope that's clear and it doesn't look like they're just she's undead or something. Some of these also, I started later doing like multiple color variations as well. I didn't start off doing that. So some of these have like a little bit more. This is maybe like an aquatic elf and a drow as well. Trying to make sure that I'm representing lots of different types of elves and half elves. I put the elves and the half elves into the same pack because I think that the visual distinction is kind of like up to the world building, and in my world it's kind of just like the length of the ears, but also all of them might read as elves depending on your game. So I feel, yeah, the distinction is not super clear, so I just did one pack for everybody. Or at least it's not a very like visually clear distinction, I feel. Although there are some characters like this one here who I think is like half drow and has like the shorter ears, so maybe some of the more obviously half elven characters are in here. Yeah, like I would say she's definitely half elf. I don't know, you tell me. Some different casters. I think she's really cute. I think she's cute too. I think they're all cute. Martial characters, and they're kind of like monk type character, and a barbarian type character. Some very classic elves, another kind of aquatic elf. And then yeah, just some NPCs. Is some sort of, again, evil queen. You gotta have one. And then another sort of queen, aristocracy character, artificer guy, healer, some sort of cartographer or something, ranger, rogue, and then yeah, just some townsfolk as well. Just some normal people. Just having a normal one. Scroll. Yeah, I like that flower hair also. And then yeah, sort of a maybe kind of tiefling-ish type elf. Again, trying to like mix it up a little. Yeah, so that is the elf character pack. And that's it for characters. I do have another map set here, which is a dungeon tiles set. This set actually probably like sells the most still of a lot of what I do. Well, not the most, but it still sells a lot. I guess top-down tiles are pretty useful. But I only ever did one pack of top-down tiles, so it is what it is. But it basically, it's like tiles, right? So it has like all these like sort of building blocks that you can piece together to make your own kind of map, including it has like, you know, all different kinds of bends and like intersections and everything, so you can kind of like, it has every type that you would need to build your own like sort of tunnel system. This one specifically is caves and mines, so it's sort of like natural formed or like non-paved kind of caves and that kind of thing. And then there's also a bunch of rooms in here that you can like place and link up with things. So yeah, sort of like a little campsite. This is like a tomb of some kind, like a catacomb. There's this like underwater lake situation. And then, oh yeah, there's like a drop off. There's some different drop offs and like cave-ins and stuff like that. There's like an ending. And yeah, lots of different kind of obstacles as well. There's like a little mushroom patch and a little mushroomy water area, like a little obstacle. So yeah, this one is like not super interesting. It has more utility, which is probably why it sells better. I don't know, this chamber has 2 pools in it. I don't know what you do with that. It's up to you. Another little like sarcophagus kind of temple area. There's like a vault, I think. yeah, there's a vault here. I did a lot of stuff in this. And then this sort of like little, I guess like miners hangout zone. I don't know. Oh yeah, there's like a down staircase shaft kind of thing. Yeah, little storeroom, water edge. Yeah, so anyways, this is just very practical and boring. Oh yeah, and they did a bunch of like traps also. Like there's these like little, I don't know, trap things. Little lava crack on the floor. Living vine kind of guy. Oh yeah, this this is just like an overlay. I don't know, to make the dungeon alive. So that if you want to just make the walls alive, you can. That's an option you have. I couldn't help myself. I had to be a bit silly. I think that's the only really silly thing that I snuck in there, though. And some webbing and stuff like that. I'm glad people are liking to see this. I'm really just like, it's really just Bambii show and tell time. Okay, cool. And then, so then the other top-down one, the last top-down one that I have are monsters and creatures. I really meant to do more of these. These honestly don't sell very well, and I like doing isometric more so. But I'm happy that I did this. I think that they are cute. So some of these I'll maybe drag in, but yeah, you have your like, they're bigger over on this side anyways. Yeah, a little like boar and some bears. These are also all like sort of woodland themed. Little bugbear. Even though these are top down, I still made some of them so that they would just like be like a portrait, like just a little picture of the guy, like this little fish man also. That's just so great. He'd look like nothing from the top down, and he looks great like that. So you could still just like place him on a map, and he obviously wouldn't look totally realistic, like it's, you know, it's not really in the space in a natural way, but it looks cute. It's more like a board game that way, you know, like it's just like a little indication of like what it actually is. So yeah, we have our little bugbear and this little like fish guy, and then some dire wolves. Although, oh my gosh, I love these, but wait till you see the isometric dire wolves. They're just one of my favorite tokens. White dire wolf, gelatinous cube, my beloved, my favorite. And it's really, really important also to note that the gelatinous cube, I'll grab this little ghost here. The gelatinous cube is also transparent. Look at that. Isn't that so great? So you can just like fully put it over the squares where somebody is and they're consumed. And obviously little floating like bone hand and stuff. I love her. I'm gonna keep her there. Yeah, little ghost guy, giant elk. Beautiful. I think she's really nice. Also, look at those sort of beautiful little dark eyes. Oh, I also have those. I'm just like the elk. Maybe I'll leave those on for a little bit because I really like them. I feel that's sort of my true form. And then giant spider. Well, it doesn't look that giant compared to the giant elk. Giant toad. This white one's kind of fun. And let's see, what else do we have? A goblin zombie, but not just goblin. I don't think there's just like normal goblins in this. Only goblin zombie. Kind of like telling on myself that this was used for a specific game again. I think the hag is wonderful. Look at that. I think she's great. It's so spooky. Wow. Hill giant, he's pretty cute too. That's nice. Kelpie, oh yeah, oh, I love this one too. This like Kelpie that has the two different forms. The like pretty horse version with little flowers and the dapple and everything, but still a little bit like, I don't know if we can, yeah, we can zoom in quite a bit here. Still has like a bit of the uncanniness, like it doesn't really have like a horse shaped face. It's like a little bit more like deer like, so there's a bit of that sort of like fey quality. And then yeah, the spooky version for once it transforms with these sort of like the sort of cloven hoof is turned into these like two claws with a little webbing between. So that one is nice also. Kobolds, cute and perfect as always. Love kobolds. A bunch of color variations for that. This mushroom beast. Oh yeah, owlbear is super, super important. A few different color variations for them also. Phase spider. The phase spider I put like a glitch effect on. It's got like sort of achromatic aberration to give it kind of this weird vibration feeling, because the phase spider, you know, it like phases in and out of the material to the ethereal plane, so to give it that kind of like phasing, like like partly in this world, partly in another look, I gave it this sort of like glitch effect. And then some little pixies. These are tiny. They're, well, we're zoomed in so far, you can see them okay. But yeah, little pixies of different colors. Pixies, definitely villainous. They are not fun to run into. A wonderful rat. It's just a rat. I guess it's probably technically a giant rat. But I think it's nice. That's another one where if you used it top down, it's like, yeah, that's not top down. It's just a picture of a rat. Oh, this one's really cute. This was a character also, a little stone golem guy with little gem eyes. Troll. Look at those ears. That's cute. I like that. I really forgot about a lot of these designs. And then the two unicorns again. They were an important part of my campaign. It's magical little guys. Offered magical powers. A little wisp. Also actually really dangerous. It's a super low challenge rating, but it has a perma-kill ability, which is crazy to me. And then some wargs, which are for, in my game, were for riding. And a wyvern. Yeah. So that's my creatures pack. And I only ever did one, so those are the creatures that exist. Okay, cool. So I think it might be isometric time now, finally. I'm gonna take a little sip of water. I use my like, you can see my like cheek puff when I drink water. Okay, cool. Oh no! Get out of here! Okay, cool. Okay, so let's get back into it. Okay, cool. So, I'm going to start going through isometric. There's so much of this. I definitely am going to have to go a little bit faster. Okay, cool. So, where are we? We'll just start at the bottom. So these two sets here they sort of combine into one set, or they can be used together really well. This is my isometric tower builder, which my current game is currently on a tower quest, going up a tower. I don't want to stream for 12 hours, Tater. And yeah, that is probably what we're looking at if I take this long with all of my packs. Yeah, oh my god, look at this. Yeah, I'm gonna have to zoom. So, basically, like, the idea is that these can just be mixed and matched to make, like, a tower dungeon. A tower dungeon is great. It's great for, like, a sort of starting quest or a lower level campaign. It's clear objective, you just go up and up, you can do some really fun stuff, and, so yeah, I have, like, all these different, I have versions of each of the rooms, like, with stairs in, with stairs, out, with like no stairs. This is like a divided version where it's like 2 rooms. There's like just a base, and there's overlays as well, so you can totally just like build whatever you need, like windows, doors, in any places that you need. And then there's a bunch of fun variations. So this is the goo room, which is kind of nasty, but it's I love gelatinous cubes very, very much, so I made a specific layer for gelatinous cubes. These I think are really pretty. This is like these overgrown ruins kind of flavor, with the little like plants and saplings and the vines and pillars and stuff. There are also versions without the pillars too. But I think the pillars are nice. Little semicircle room. My players are currently on this map right now, about to choose which door to go through. VV, you almost died in those places. You didn't almost die. You were okay. Yes, there's a little semicircle. And I also have just like a the reason there's duplicates for a lot of that is, or a lot of these maps, is because I have a JPEG and a PNG. The JPEG is like faster, or like takes up, you know, I don't know, your thing will lag less if you use the JPEG, but the PNG you can like stack the rooms like this or whatever, and like overlay them and that kind of thing. So it's, you have both options. There's also a specific layer for like spiders and stuff. So there's like this web room, and this is just like a lantern or like a castle, like proper interior instead of like a ruin or a dungeon. And then that's it for the themed rooms from this pack. And then I also have the vertical, like the big vertical maps. So there's like the base, but then there's also a crumbling variation, which I showed before, that's like really good for climbing challenges. And like I use this one also. I'll have like monsters or characters like push rubble from the top and try and like hit climbing people off of the walls, so they take falling damage and that kind of thing too. So yeah, it's very fun for that. And then I have the overgrown also variant, just because I think it's really pretty and I like it. So for the ruins I have that. And then, yeah, for some of the overlays, I'll grab one of the tower rooms back, just maybe use this one. There's a balcony, which I think is nice. You can add a little balcony onto the tower. And then, yeah, I don't think we need to take a look at all of these, but you have every overlay your heart could desire. There's like a crack for the floor, there's like all these different doors, and there's also the doors on the sort of curved different diagonal angles that you need for the specific like shape of room, so that you can like put them all around. And yeah, versions with closed doors, a big hole for the ground, ladder, a little hatch, and then these are just like alcoves with little glowing orbs of some kind, meant to be used for a puzzle. So that's why those are there. And there's the same thing, just a little alcove with a pedestal if you want to build some kind of like a puzzle or something. This little collapse here, Vivi did almost die in this little collapse, where yeah, there's like a little trap where the floor kind of collapses. And then I have a version also that has these like giant insect tunnels going through it, little rubble overlay. And then yeah, again, it's just like all the different stairs that you can need, the crumbling version, the full version, to kind of like adapt the space into whatever you need. And then these are kind of cute, so I'll show them properly. But yeah, also these are like pretty high resolution, like you can really zoom all the way in on them. These little statues, which I think are cute, again, maybe for some kind of like puzzle or something. But there's all these different kind of like hero statues that also kind of fit like the curve of the room too. All these different like classes. There's the little fighter, and then the bard with a little lute. So all these little like stone statues. And there's a version of them also in alcoves that you can like put into the wall again, and make sure they're like, they can be at the correct angle and everything. So yeah, so those are cute. And yeah, again, it's like, I think that puzzles are also like really fun and underused, and a great way to sort of like shake up your game and keep it from just being like monsters just like sort of fighting all the time. So, and then yeah, torches. Oh, and then these windows I think are kind of pretty as well, to just again make it into like a proper sort of castle interior. So that is the tower builder pack. It is quite big. It's like very diverse, and you can do a lot of stuff with it. And it gets even bigger because the other pack I'm going to show is an expansion. This is the isometric tower rooms, and this includes your exterior verticals. So if you were concerned that there was only an interior vertical, do not worry. There is also an exterior if you want to climb up the outside of a tower. And there's the tower like summit, which can be really fun too. Like if you're doing a tower, if you want to like clearly indicate that you get to the top of it. So there's the stairs version of that if you don't want them to just scale the wall, although this would also still be very dangerous, I think. And then there's some different variations. There's like a crumbling variation as well. There's also a crumbling version with stairs too, I think. Yeah, there it is. But the stairs are broken, you know. And there's also a version that has this like castle top instead. I forget what those are called. But the little like castle hat shape instead of the just like railing up there. And there's also icy versions, wintry icy versions, just because like imagine the climbing challenge. Like now those crumbling stairs are all iced over as well, like difficult terrain, like different rules for like the ice, like the possibility to get like it's for the top to be like slippery or like slide off. So yeah, I put that in there because I thought it had some fun possibility for some interesting encounters. So those are the exteriors, and there's an icy version of like every one of the different combinations, like stairs, no stairs, crumbling, and then the different types of tops. There's like versions for all of that. So those are the exteriors, and then there's also just a lot more variations for different types of rooms in this pack as well. It's all these sort of like wooden ruins or wooden rooms rather than the stone ones. So we have just like a normal base. We have like a crumbling or like ruin kind of version of that as well, which I think is very cool. And then again, all the different like stairs, no stairs versions. And then we also have some more like specific rooms. This is like, yeah, a little bit less just like bases with kind of different themes. And these are more like specific actual rooms to put in a tower. This one is a acid trap, which I have overlays for as well. And I have on TikTok a description of how to run this trap. So, that it's a very basic kind of trap that is from the Book of Challenges originally, I'm pretty sure, which is like a very old kind of like resource that has a bunch of pretty brutal kind of old school dungeon traps and challenges and that kind of thing. But be careful using that type of resource if you're playing like a RP heavy sort of more modern game of D&D, because they are meant to kill you. They're pretty brutal. So yeah, so the little trap room, and there's just kind of like a puzzle, and then this is these again, we're getting a little bit more specific with these. Here we have this like wooden bedroom room, and then we have this kind of like broken like abandoned room. Ooh. Sort of like junk room or like storage, something like that. It's kind of like spooky and haunted, I feel, with all the books on the floor. This one looks even spookier and more haunted. I love this. This is from my game. Okay, so now that we're in isometric, we're gonna start getting into my other game that I ran for a really, really long time, because it's isometric. I ran it for probably like 3 years, and during like a lot of the pandemic we were playing literally every week. Like I probably have logged like 80 or 90 sessions on this game, which is truly insane. And that game is a magical girls / eldritch horror game that takes place in a school that has like a secret dark magical underbelly. So just a quick overview. A lot of these maps, rather than having the very silly like goblin theme, are gonna have more of a kind of spooky and romantic kind of femme vibe, because that is the game that I drew a lot of them for. So this is one of them. This is a like cult, like a secret cult room. So it has some like spooky details. There's like this statue here of this like figure bent over with like a sort of mask face on the top of their head. And then there's this portrait here too that has the same type of like mask face, and with sort of like a gas mask kind of apparatus on the sides of it a little bit, but otherwise it's kind of just like a Renaissance figure. And yeah, a bunch of like animal skulls on the wall. You can see a little mask motif up here as well. So spooky little abandoned cult room. I put that on the internet. You can have that in your game. And this is a mushroom challenge room. So many things that mushrooms can do. Oh, this is a really fun one too. This is like a wizard study. Let's zoom in on this too. This is not spooky. It's just fun. Balcony, and then yeah, there's like a little portrait of some kind of wizard here, and then this big kind of like alchemical type circle workstation, a couple different messy workstations here, crystals kind of like placed in this spell circle. That one I think also is fun and has potential. Sort of wizard study room, and then yeah, I think that's it for the super specific rooms in this map or in this set. And then we have also all of our overlays. So we have like the all of the kind of same overlays that we had for the other set, but for the wooden rooms instead of the stone ones. So we have all of our different wooden stairs. We have like our wooden rubble as well, and yeah, our like cracks in the floor, but like as they would appear on like wood, you know, instead of the stone ones from the other one. So that is what is included in that pack. Oh, and then here, this is the force field. This force field is used for the acid trap, but you could use it for anything else. It's a little force field that fits into your room, so maybe you need that for your puzzles. Okay, so that is the Tower Rooms pack. And I think that the Tower Builder and the Tower Rooms set are a super great way to get started, or to like super easily build a little dungeon quickly, if you just want to like get started, or like try isometric, or do like a 1-shot or something like that, or like maybe a 3-shot, and just do a dungeon with like a clear trajectory and different challenges, monsters, characters, like that kind of thing. I think a tower is like a really good format for that. So yeah, so some of the other packs that I did are also kind of just good starters, like ways, like common types of maps that people use a lot, that people often kind of like start a quest with. So that is what the road travel pack also is. So there's this pack includes maps for road travel, but it also includes some different villains and some different just like overlays and types of tokens that you would need to run that kind of a session. So yeah, there's less maps in this one, but there's like, well, actually there's a lot of maps in this one also, but there's other types of tokens as well. I sort of started doing these like encounter or like setting packs, where it's like everything that you would need to run this encounter or to run this type of encounter. You could get a lot of encounters out of this pack for sure. So this is one of the road maps. At this point I think I'm going to make this grid, or this map, a bit bigger, because some of these maps are a lot bigger. So we'll just preemptively do this so that we can see everything. There we go. So yeah, this is the first. Oh, my little guy is still there, it would seem. Oh, is he on the? Yeah, he's on this layer here. He was there the whole time. Okay, so yeah, so this is the first road travel map. I was really experimenting with this one about how to show like natural terrain that is not completely flat in isometric, that isn't just like stone tiles or like an interior with like a floor. Again, like as I'm sure that you noticed too, for all of the different tower packs and for all of these going forward, my maps always have the grid built right in. It just makes it a lot easier. You can use them then in like literally any virtual tabletop. If you just turn off any kind of grid or like snap to grid, you can scale and place things really easily. So the challenge was to kind of like make that grid work and keep everything looking good and organized, but also show natural types of terrain that are not flat, that like square shapes don't fit into. So this is one of the sort of solutions that I found to that, which is this sort of like topographical grid, this sort of like map that has different elevations to it, more like sort of natural little hills and valleys and that kind of thing, and just indicate those differences in the terrain with the grid overlay, as well as in the art itself. So yeah, so we have this little chunk of road. We have a bunch of different versions of it. There's a night version with some little fireflies, as well as that daytime version. We also have just like a base. I wanted to make sure that everything could be kind of adapted however you need it. So there's a daytime and a nighttime base as well. And then there's also a winter version. A snowy road. There's a snowy nighttime version as well. And then we also have a forest, little foresty version for the snow, for the daytime and the nighttime. Oop. So yeah, there's I like this one. I tend to like the snowy nighttime ones. I think they look very dramatic. So we'll keep that to show some of the other tokens. Or actually, I have a lot more maps, so maybe I'll show the rest of the maps first, because there's some really nice ones. So this is, whoops. This next one is this extremely fun, like, cliff ambush map. This one is really using the levels, and you can see that I approached the grid and showing the natural landscape a little bit differently on this. This one is more just like chunks of flat, like, map that sort of is elevated. It's kind of like Animal Crossing, you know, it's like flat areas that are kind of like different elevations of cliff. Although I did put the grid pattern onto the stone of the cliff as well, so that you could still track if characters are climbing. You can track like how high the cliff actually is, make sure that everything is staying really accurate. So if you do want to use something like high ground rules and give like advantage to high ground, I think this is a really great example of where that could work super well. Excuse me. I'm gonna drink a little bit of water. I'm talking a lot. I'm just monologuing a lot more than I'm used to right now. Yes, yeah, I mean, I think that like a road ambush is classic. That's just like so fun and interesting. I feel like it just writes itself as an encounter. You know, you have like your perception checks, you have like the possibility of being surprised, the like whoever's lying in wait has like prepared and all of this. So I think it is a really good type of encounter, especially for like early game. And I think that adding the elevation and this just sort of like bottleneck kind of like ambush point is adds even more. VV totally not a sus map. I know, right? But you know what? You could also use this map as players if you wanted to set up an ambush, which I think would also be extremely fun. Or if you can find a way to like gain the high ground or that kind of thing, you know, push people off the cliff to take falling damage. Yeah, so anyways, that's that map. And then of course we have variations. So we have a winter variation as well. Most of these, there's going to be a grass and then a snow variation, and then there will be a night and a day for both variations. So here's the little nighttime map, and then we have our winter night, which again, I think usually the winter nights are my favorites. So yeah, that one. I think that one is really fun. I think it's a nice map. And then my last one, I think this is actually my favorite. It also has so many variations, but it's actually just mostly the same map, just in a bunch of different variations. So we have this little woodlands, this little like foresty woodlands map, and you can see the little hills there. It has that sort of natural topographical kind of like grid to it, going over little hills and valleys, but still indicating the grid, the 5x5 grid. So the variations that we have for this one, basically there is a version that is just that has no road, that is just sort of like through the woods. If you want to just have like a woodland encounter as well, you would have that. So there's like, you know, a night version of that, and then there is the snowy version as well, and there's the snowy night version, which I am absolutely obsessed with, mostly because of the long shadows of the trees. I think it's very pretty, and the fireflies. And then there's also a version of all of these, again, that does have the actual path. So it has like more of like a road encounter kind of a look. So yeah, there's the day and then the night and then the forest day and then the forest night. I love the path winter night. I use this one a lot when I'm just like demonstrating, like demoing tokens or like setting up like covers and stuff like that for token packs, because I just think that it looks really romantic and beautiful, and I think it would be like really fun to use for like a imagine if you had some kind of like going to like a vampire castle type quest, or like some kind of like spooky romantic type quest, and you did like a snowy nighttime encounter with like the moonlight, the long shadows and stuff. I think it's nice. So I think so then, yeah, the rest of the variations here, they're all just variations. They're like every possible combination of that. I basically just have also a version that is only the hills, and that is like only the path. And then I have like day, night, snow for all of those. So that's why there's like so many variations here. But I'm gonna get my snowy path back so I can show some of the other overlays that I have here. So that is the maps included with this pack, but we have lots of other types of tokens as well. So we have some wagon overlays. This is not really colored to go in the night map, but it looks nice, so I'm putting it in. So we have like this little caravan, we have just like a normal wagon, and then we have a covered wagon as well. And a wooden, more like carriage. Like I think that this could maybe be like a guarded carriage, or more like something that aristocracy would travel in. So we have those maps, or those tokens that you can kind of like overlay if you want to do your little road encounter. And then we also have a bunch of horses, which makes me really, really, really happy. Because I am a total horse girl and I'm obsessed with horses very, very much. And you may think that there are a lot of horse color variations here, but this is actually like an eighth of all of the horse color variations that I've drawn because I love them. And I have an entire mounts pack that actually is not released yet, but that includes every single one of those color variations, and it's going to include a few different types of mounts as well. But yeah, hopefully coming up. In the meantime, you still have like quite a lot of horses to choose from. I have a version without a saddle and with a saddle for all of these as well. So there's this nice little like bay horse with its little darker socks and its little white nose, and then we have a black horse and this kind of chestnut brown guy, and then we have draft horses. I feel like it's always important. I mean, we're pulling some pretty big wagons here, so you might want draft horses for that reason. But I think it's important to have draft horses and miniature horses also with saddles, because of like half-orc and halfling characters. So because there's like characters of different sizes, I think that having horses of different sizes is also makes sense for the world. So yeah, we have also this black. I love the black with white socks draft horse. I think that it's so nice. Is that all the colors of draft horse that I have? Yeah, I guess it is. And then I have a miniature pony too. I have like a little cream one with a saddle, and then just a little brown one with and without a saddle. So those are the horses that come with the road travel pack. And then there's also some little guys that are more like the enemies that you might have. So again, I was kind of keeping in mind like ambush, or just a typical kind of like roadside encounter, like road fight that you might have in like a sort of low level campaign. So I included some characters that would maybe be involved in sort of like a ambush or a roadside encounter. That was sort of my thinking for what I chose for this. Tater, you feel like camels are underutilized in D&D? Yeah, camels, maybe I should put some camels into the mount pack. I feel like those are pretty like environment specific, but definitely would make sense for a pack of different mounts. So yeah, for some of my villains that I have here, or my kind of like enemy tokens, we have some bandits. These also, you're going to be seeing these again. I'll like skim over them but when I get to them, but these are mostly from, I have like some packs of just general kind of like villains and enemy characters, and these are all from that. So these are kind of duplicates, but I just included them in this set so that you could have a ready to go encounter. So there are some different bandits. There's a little halfling bandit here too. These are kind of just like humanoid bandits. I also have some wonderful little goblins. I think they're going to show up better here on the side than actually on the map, just because they're quite small. But yeah, there's some little goblins. I love that goblin with a little knife, and some gnolls as well. So little archer gnoll, 2 archer gnolls, and then sort of a maybe captain-y kind of gnoll character. And that is what is included in the isometric road travel map for all of your road travel needs. Yeah, so lots of different characters and overlays. There we go. Okay, cool. Wow, that's kind of jarring to go from the beautiful wintry map just to the blank. Okay, cool. So that is a road travel map. So the next couple maps are characters. So I'll just show, again, like skimming over them on the right here, just because I think they'll, well, I can drag some of them in, but yeah, maybe I will. They're kind of small over here. Although there's also like a lot of them. So this is what I was talking about. It's like a humanoid villains pack. So this is basically like, I wanted to frame it as like humanoid villains and keep it a little bit more diverse, rather than do like a monsters pack, because again, like I think that monsters in my games are not like always villains. They can be all different kinds of characters, and of course you end up fighting humanoid characters that are not monsters all the time. So that's why I was kind of like breaking it up in my mind, again, like knowing that people mostly use tokens and maps for combat encounters. So a lot of the tokens are going to be villainous in some nature, but also wanting to keep it diverse. So yeah, this is all humanoid villains, so including like different monster species and like all kinds of different humanoid species. So these are my little bugbears. Yeah, they're just all going to be a little bit small to see. But again, I love bugbears and I'm obsessed with them. And I think that furry guys are really nice. And that's how I feel. I love isometric. I liked the top-down ones a lot, but I just think that these are really fun. Again, these are referencing the actual monster manual, and they have the weapons that bugbears have in the monster manual. They have like javelins and that kind of thing. And then some wonderful little gnolls who you just saw in the road travel map as well. There's 3 of them. And we have some hobgoblins too. Did I get them all? No. I have a captain as well. Most of these I have like 2 of just kind of the normal ones, and then like 1 of the sort of leveled up one. A lot of I was really drawing heavily on the monster manual for this, and for types, these are basically just like visual representations or tokens for some of the the enemy characters that are really easy to find stat blocks for, whether they're just like in the basic monster manual or they're just like very common. So I also have cultists, which is also really like basic stat block. The cultists, I have like a bunch of variations of them, but they all have these little like, I mean it's too small to see really, but they have like little skulls painted on their foreheads, and they have down here on their little tabards as well, and then they have these little like rib corsets and little bone necklaces, so there's some sort of like death cult kind of guys. So a bunch of color variations for them, and then I also have some guards, because let's be honest, we are getting into scraps with the law all the time in D&D, and it totally makes sense to include the guards in the humanoid villains pack, because they are some of the humanoid villains that we end up facing the most. So again, I have sort of like 2 basic ones and then a captain, and I have a bunch of different color variations for different like city guards or different factions, so that you can get in trouble everywhere. And then I have some vampires. You may feel that vampires are overrepresented in this pack, and you'd be right. There's a lot compared to how many I drew of everything else. There's quite a lot to choose from for your vampires. That's just sort of me having fun with it, drawing what I want to draw. Do we need 3, 4 variations for lady vampires? No, of course we don't. You would hardly ever use that. And you know what is also kind of wild is that this is not all the color variations for vampires that I drew. There are more. There are so many more. There's so many color variations for vampires. This vampire too, also worth noting. See how her dress has like a transparency. You can see through the edges of it. Non-binary vampire. every vampire that your heart could desire. And then like 7 more vampires in my own personal files. That's just for me. And then a warlord. Again, these are from the monster manual, just common types of villains that are easy to find stat blocks for. So that is the warlord, and then the archmage, classic super high level humanoid villain character. We have a demon prince and a drider. I think she's really fun. She looks a little bit maybe small compared to everybody else. I'll scale her up a little bit. I think she's fun. Drow spider centaur, and then also she has just like a human version, like a just drow queen version as well. So that is, oh my gosh, I need to remember that I have to go through this kind of quickly. So that's only volume 1, don't worry. Okay, so for volume 2, here's these bandits who we remember, except actually there's more bandit variations. Oops. No, don't do that. Don't drag them all in. Stop that. Oh my gosh, okay. There we go. There's even more bandit color variations here. There's a little gnome bandit as well as the halfling. And then we have all of our goblins, and there are so many more goblins here. Sword goblin. Yeah, these guys are easier to see because they're so small on the side, so I'll just sort of show sword goblin. There's a little goblin caster as well. I love this little dagger goblin. I also really like for my goblins to be on all fours sometimes and scurry along. Also, goblins have tails, and that's just a fact that I believe to be true. And it's unshakable, and that's my reality and my truth, and you can't take it from me. And I just think that it's really important. Tail goblin. Theater, you might need more vampires. Well, lucky for you, I have more vampires. I just didn't put them in the pack because honestly, I was kind of embarrassed to have like a quarter of the pack be just vampires. Okay. And more bandits, and then we have just some orcs, different kinds of fighting orcs. I think she's really cute. I wanted these to be sort of like Viking-y kind of vibes based on sort of like Vikings. And then some different pirates, and then the Baba Yaga. There's 3 witches in here as well, also a little bit overrepresented. Vivi, the tail goblins are really nice. I'm glad you think so. I think that tails are critically important. And you know what? If they are scurrying around on all fours, I think that tails make sense. It's like a counterbalance, right? It makes it like easier to run around on all fours. So it's totally justified. So yes, also slightly overrepresenting witches and really just showing my hand, but it's, you know, for me, ultimately, so I can do that if I want to. So there's the Baba Yaga, there's this cool and hot goth witch, obviously, and then a hag, who I think is also fun. I really like hags as well. There's not too many in that pack. That's reasonable. So that's the second villains pack. And then the heroes there's also so many, so maybe I'll just try and scroll over here. So I have different packs of heroes, and they are divided up in the isometric tokens by like their class rather than by their species. So the first ones that I did, my first heroes pack are martial classes. Basically, when I was thinking of it, I was thinking they could be either a fighter or a barbarian. So it's like even a little bit more specific than just martial. But these are a lot of color variations, so I'm not gonna like drag all of them out. But mostly they'll have like 2 designs for each species, and then a ton of color variations, like 10 color variations or something. So there's basically like a design that is kind of like fightery or barbarian-y, and then there's a design that's kind of a monk for like the humans, for like the 2 martial classes. So for there's all of my kind of like fighter and barbarian color variations. I also change their hairstyles, so like they're mostly just a different color, but then their hair I do change. And then sometimes I'll change other kind of like gender markers, like if I want to give them like more of a bust, but I don't always do that, and I try and like mix and match that also with different like hairstyles and features. So yeah, so there's my human sort of fighters, and then yeah, here's all of my different little monks here, all of their different color variations and hairs and stuff. So that's the human kind of monk design, and then for the orcs we have our orc monk design, and then, or half orc really I should say, and then all of the different color variations for them. And then we have our half orc fighter or like barbarian. I am obsessed with this one. I think she's so cute. I really like her kind of like pastel pink little fighter. And then here are all of the color variations for, look at this guy, this one's got his titties out. For all of the orc barbarian fighters. Get out of here. And then dwarf fighters, let's find a cute one. Let's take you. So they have their little like fighter pose and all their, oh I think this like gray braids is also cute. All their color variations, and then we have our little dwarf monks. Let's find one. Why you? I did some with and without beards. I know that I think in D&D technically female dwarves don't canonically have beards, but people play that however they want, and so I put like kind of a mixture. There are not very many that don't have beards. There's only like a couple, and a lot of people play that all dwarves have beards. So yeah, I did both. And then for elves we have our little fighter guys. I am not totally sure about that elf pose, but I did what I did. There's a bunch of different color variations, and then we have our elf monks. I really like the elf monks. Also in this pack here, let's see if I can find her. No, maybe she's not here. Oh, she's in the half elf. Yeah, okay, never mind. We'll just take a random one. So we have our little like elf monk as well. Little gnomes. So also in my game, or I guess in my world building, I want to visually differentiate gnomes and halflings a little bit more. I know that in D&D I don't feel that gnomes are super distinct. I think they're like kind of underutilized, and they kind of are just like halflings, like flavored slightly differently. I also really don't like that in D&D gnomes are supposedly canonically slightly taller than halflings. I just so disagree with that with my heart. I feel that gnomes are smaller, and in fact they're tiny, like 2 or 3 feet tall, and that is also just an unshakable belief that I have, like goblins having tails. And I know it's not fully accurate, but it is the truth of my heart, and I think that it's also the truth of your heart if you look deep inside. So my gnomes are tiny, and also they in D&D they canonically I think have actually more pointy ears than halflings, but the way I wanted them to have this kind of like cute like mouse look, so I actually gave them like big rounded ears, and then a lot of them also have little buck teeth. Some of them maybe also have tails, not in this particular pack, but I think there might be some coming up that do have tails, because that is also the truth of my heart. So that's my little fighter, and then here's my little gnome monk and all of their color variations. Oh, this one's really cute. I like her. I think that this little monk gnome pose is really cute. And then the half elves, here's my little like fighter pose. Oh, uh-oh. Come here. And then the monk for the half elf. So yeah, this is one that I was thinking of. This little half elf monk is like kind of a self-insert a little bit, as like a sort of half drow. I really like also the half elf monk pose. I think they look cute with the little fingers up. Tater, you're willing to be convinced. Listen, your heart already knows, you just have to look inside. Gnomes are tiny. It's just the truth. And then my halflings, canonically bigger than gnomes. Look at. There's the little fighting pose and all the color variations, and then the little monk pose as well. And then they have their color variations also. Oh, now we're into tieflings. So tieflings, fighter, and color variations. Oh, there's little antlers tiefling too. That for the tieflings, of course, not only their hair changes, but also there's tons of different horn shapes. And then monks. This is a cute monk. Also another little like antler tiefling. Yeah, so that's the first heroes pack. The second one are magic users. So these are going to be the same thing. There's 2 designs per species, and then a ton of color variations for each design. So this time I was thinking kind of like a sorcerer or warlock as one of the designs. So a little bit more of like a intuitive caster, and then the other one I was thinking of more of like a wizard, or maybe even like a cleric or something, but a more academic vibe. There maybe isn't a ton of differentiation there, but that was sort of what I was thinking of. So we have our dwarf caster, and then all of their color variations, and then just scroll down a little bit, and then we have our other one. So this one has sort of like a book on the belt. So our other dwarf caster, and then all of their color variations. I think I named them all sorcerer and wizard, but I think it's really like sorcerer or warlock, and then wizard or cleric would be like a little bit more accurate. Here's my elf caster design, and then all of the color variations, and then here's the other elf caster, and then all of their color variations here. And then we have our little gnomes. Here's the first gnome design. These are easier to see along the side. They're coming up a little bit bigger. All of their color variations. And then we have our other little gnome caster design. We'll just scroll down a little bit, and then all of our wizard variations here, and then we have our half-elf. So here's our first half-elf caster design, and all of their color variations, and then oh yeah, this is I skipped over and didn't notice. This is the other half-elf caster, and then there's all of them. We're moving a little bit more now. That's a cute drow also. Mostly with the drow and the elves and the half-elves, I'd always try and have a couple of drow in there as well. Or like half drow, which I think is very fun. Okay, so here's my little halflings. I am not totally sure about this sorcerer pose. I've never loved that token, but I did it. And then there's all the color variations, and then this one I think is a lot cuter. The little wizard holding the fire over to the side like that. All of their color variations as well. And then we have our humans. There's our sort of like human sorcery type character, color variations, and then here is our more academic kind of caster with a little bit of armor there, and all of those color variations. Oh, and then orcs. I am absolutely obsessed with half orcs, as I already said. I adore them. I really, really like this orc caster pose. And then I like this one too. I love all the orcs. I love the orc monk pose as well. But I think that this caster, that second caster pose is really, really cute. And there's all the color variations for them. Now it's tieflings time, so we have some cute different horns. Little tiefling caster. Tiefling sorcerer is pretty classic player character. These hero packs are meant to be more like player characters. This is, when I was saying before that like I think the best utility of a lot of the packs is to take inspiration from them and build characters around them rather than trying to find one to match. These packs, the hero packs, are not that. Like they're meant to be a little bit more something that you could find something that matches your particular character. That's why there's like so many color variations and stuff. Obviously still like a little bit specific, but it is meant to be more like you could find your player characters in here or find like an approximation. So yeah, those are the first two isometric hero packs. One is the martial classes, and then the other one is casters. And like the idea was that between those two, like you kind of have a lot of bases covered. Like you can maybe find kind of like a martial or like a caster-ish type class to match your player character. But then I got a little bit more specific, and I am still getting a bit more specific as I continue to do these isometric hero packs, and I still like release these and I'm working on them, that kind of thing. So this one here is rogues and bards. So this is the first one where it gets like a little bit more specific, things that like maybe aren't covered in the other ones. So for each of these there's like a bard design for each species and then a rogue. The bards are really fun and silly, and they switch out not only their hair but also, as you can see, their instrument, like this saxophone dwarf. And I try and do also bards that are not technically like here's my little rogue dwarf. That one has tattoos. I think that's nice. I try and do bards that are not all musicians too, because you know bards can be like actors, writers, painters, that kind of thing. So I try and include characters that are like not traditional bards as well. Electric guitar elf. This is maybe gonna start to skew a little bit into the silly Bambii is having fun zone. There's a cello bard. And then a musical saw bard. I mentioned already, I love this drow painter. I pulled her out earlier. This one is like a puppeteer. I think this would make a really fun villain. A spooky elf puppeteer bard. There's my little elf rogue. The rogues are all just kind of like goth and fun. Little drow. There's the gnomes. We have a gnome with a tuba that's like the same size as them. Painter, dancer. Just trying to mix it up, and then some classic loots, of course, and then my little gnome rogue design, double daggers. A gnome rogue I feel would be so effective. And then yeah, half elves. This one is cute. She's like a ribbon dancer. She has some little like sparkly bells also along her belt, which is also unique to her. The bards I change up quite a bit more. Like here's another painter with like magical paintbrushes that are like sparkling. Vivi, you're also an electric guitar elf. You absolutely are. You're so right. That's exactly what you are. You're just like the electric guitar elf. And then this is clarinet. I like the clarinet one a lot too. And you can see that they're all casting magic. They have these sparkles all around them. Clarinet. Oops, get out of here. Yeah, and then some classic lute bards as well. Half elf rogue, getting ready to do a little stabby stab. There they all are, different colors. And then halflings. The halfling bards are so cute as well, just like loot like the same size as them. And yeah, switching it up even with like a skirt. I definitely there's another saxophone, or like I guess that's not really a saxophone. Can't remember what kind of instrument that is. The bards I definitely got a little bit more like silly with the variations, and I changed them quite a lot more. Like that jester is just a complete outfit change. Like I was really just doing a lot of extra drawing for these. And then the rogues, I'll get a little stabby guy in there. And then half orcs, my favorites, my beloveds. This one has tattoos also. Wait, I think there's one that has like rose tattoos, I think. Maybe it's a different pack. Yeah, there is. That's nice. And then the... Wait, where's my bards? Did I skip them? I don't know. Well, I'm sure they'll come up. Maybe they're just in a different place. And then we have our human bards, and there's like a rider, who has like a rapier, and then human rogues. There are so many of these, and as I keep making packs, there's just more and more. It's exponential. There they are. There's my half-orc bards. They must have also not uploaded and had to be put in separately. I like their big ruffly outfit. Drum bard with an orc with like a full, or like a half-orc with a full drum kit. And then tiefling bard, classic PC. Classic character. I really like this violin one. I also think that bards, as I was saying, like, I think that bards are really underutilized as a villain. Like, I think that this could be like a BBGE or BBEG, like a tiefling violinist, kind of goth. Like, I think that's sick. Like an evil bard, that's crazy. And like the utility spells, like all of the like illusion stuff and like all the weird stuff that bards can do. Like, imagine with a villain. I think that's so good. Also have a banjo tiefling. Oh yeah, this is like an actor tiefling bard as well that has these like masks. And then tiefling rogue. I love the tiefling rogue design too. And of course the horns change along with all the hair. Oh, this is a cute, oops. The antlers one is cute too, with her hair all like around her antlers. Oh, I chose similar color versions for those two. Oh, and then one dwarf bard who didn't load. Cool, so that is my bards and rogues pack. I think that's all of the hero packs that I have up. Next for hero packs are going to be more sort of like class specific ones. I think like druids and clerics or something like that is going to be next, and then also starting to branch out into different types of species, so like tabaxi, dragonborn, merfolk, that kind of thing. Ultimately, like, you know, maybe someday I would like to do also some monster species like goblins and that kind of thing, but like with the with like all the different sort of like classes as well, like in more of like a PC heroes kind of way. So yeah, that we have made it through all of our humanoid villains, all of our heroes. Okay, oh my god, we still have so many. Come on, Bambii. Maybe I should do a part 2 of this. I'm too slow. Maybe I'll do, I'll do like a couple... what should I do? I'll do maybe the dragons here, because they also fit with the humanoid villains, and I think that'll probably be the last pack for tonight, because I am sleepy and I really like talking about everything, but I'm just taking a little bit too long, and then I can do kind of like a part 2. Yeah, whoopsie. I really did not think it would take that long, but apparently I just love to talk about myself. So yeah, maybe we'll do a part 2 and do some of the more specific encounter packs. And there's some really fun ones coming up still, like the Underdark and Feywilds pack. You want to see that, so you'll have to come back for that. But I'll do the dragons to finish off, because it's not super big, but it is, oh, I guess it is kind of big. But it's also kind of cool. So for the dragons pack, we have, it's basically like the 5 chromatic dragons, but for each chromatic dragon we have, we'll do the black one first, we have a little wormling, we also have a young dragon, and these are also, yeah, they're all like sized properly. We have an adult dragon, and we have an ancient dragon for each of the colors. But that's not all. If you love dragons and you love humanoid villains, we also have humanoid versions, because dragons can take humanoid forms. So we have little like elven kind of shapeshifty versions for each of the dragons as well. So here's the black dragon humanoid version. For both of them we have like kind of a femme and a masc version. So depending on what you kind of want. And then we also have a more like in disguise version. Like you might think that it's just like a humanoid character if you want to have like a sneaky dragon reveal. And then we also have like maybe post sneaky dragon reveal, we have like a sort of more anthropomorphic dragon version of each of them. So here's my black dragon, and of course their tails and horn like match their dragon form. These would also, if you have like a dragon sorcerer, you could also use these for that. So yeah, that's the black dragon. The black dragon is acid. So they have their breath weapon kind of like indicated up at their mouth with their sort of like drippy, gross mouth area. That is the black dragon. So I think I'll just do them a color at a time. The blue dragons are lightning. And they're also kind of like a desert biome. And a lot of these, again, because these are just from the Monster Manual of Dungeons & Dragons. Thank you, Wizards of the Coast, for not protecting your copyright at all, just letting me and everyone else do this. These are just like straight up like inspired by the art in the Monster Manual and just the sort of canonical design of these dragons. So there's the young blue dragon. It's really fun for me to kind of like draw a creature like this aging up, to like incorporate the face shape into the little wormling, but it gets like more exaggerated and different from the other colors of dragon as it grows. And then we have our ancient one, which has this like crazy like rhino horn sort of like configuration. I love the spikes get more spiky and out of control. Like the difference between adult and ancient is like very fun to me. You can see like the wear and tear in like the sort of ear fins and the wings, that kind of thing. And then for the humanoid blue dragons, we have these two versions. So there's the more human one, here's more anthropomorphic, and this one he has the little like rhino horn that the blue dragon has, and then there's this slightly more like femme version, and then the more anthropomorphic, and you can see the lightning sword too, which I think would also be like a fun reveal. I also feel, I don't know if this is totally how it's done in D&D, I think so, but like I really like indicating also the breath weapon coming up the throat, as though it's kind of like produced in like the chest or throat somewhere, and you can kind of see it like traveling up. But yeah, if you wanted to have like a secret dragon reveal, I think that having those little hints, like a lightning sword weapon, is a really fun like way to sort of build up to that reveal, kind of like hint a little bit. That's blue dragon. So then let's do green. Green is poison dragon. And I can't remember what biome they're from, but they tend to look more like alligatory. There's the young one, adult. So this is another one where it has these really big frills, so they're a bit transparent, so you shouldn't have an issue with seeing any sort of character that is behind these creatures. Like you can see how transparent it is there with the sort of like big frill overlaying with the other ones. This one has a lot of like scars, and you can see that sort of like poison breath. This is a much more like dinosaur-y, alligatory type mouth shape for the poison dragon. So even though they're the same pose, it's like they're still distinctive. They have different like feet designs as well, or like these different spikes along the sides of the body and everything. These were quite a lot of work to draw. The green dragon humanoid is a little bit different. We have these really cute little like Ren Fair kind of. I think I wanted some that would be like truly disguised. So like with some of the other ones, there's like the hint like with the lightning sword, or there might be like slitted pupils or like something, although I think this one does also have dragon eyes, but there's like a kind of a hint that they maybe are a dragon. But I wanted to do some just in case that were like more secret, like a little bit more disguised. So this was one of those that I thought could work well. I mean, I feel like poison dragons are hardly ever good guys. Dragons are so cool, and they can be whatever you want, but I did think that it might be a good one if you wanted to do a sneaky reveal. So actually they do have a tiny hint because it's a bit hard to see, but their corset has a scallop like scale pattern on it. But that's one of the only giveaways. Their hair does turn slightly to green, but that could totally just be an elf, you know? You never know. But then if you want, you also have the horn and tail, more anthropomorphic version as well, with the same little like frill on the tail. That is the green dragon. Get that out of there. And then red, classic red dragon. There's our little wormling. And then our young red dragon. Of course, this guy's fire breath. We all know that. I don't need to tell you that. Adult red dragon, again with the fire traveling up the chest there. You can see it like glowing between sort of like the ridges of the plates in the chest. And then ancient red dragon. With the sort of furnace in the mouth. And scars on that one as well. There's a slightly more like slender body shape and these very classic like big side of the face ruffles and the huge kind of like ridged horns on the red dragon. So for the humanoid ones, maybe you love Dargon. I love them too. I love to play Dargon in dungeons. The little baby ones are so good, thank you. Yeah, the little wormlings. They're so cute. Okay, so these are the red dragon humanoid ones. So maybe not the most secret you've ever seen. They do have, again, scales on their little corset. We used that with this one. This version you can see the sort of like sides, like I don't know what those are called, but the little side flaps to the armor are kind of in like a dragon wing shape as well, and the scaly boots, the little pauldrons with spikes. There's a little scale pattern up the side of the gauntlets. I don't know if they're really fooling anyone, whether they're a dragon or not, but they can at least try. You know, maybe they can get away with it. And then for if you are not trying to go for a sneaky reveal, there's the more anthropomorphic versions as well with the dragon tails and the little red dragon horns. So that's my humanoid version for the red dragon sneaky shapeshifter. So only one left. So let's look at our white dragon. This guy is obviously frost breath, like the cold breath weapon, and Arctic biome. Classic dragon. These guys have so many ridges and spikes. If you look at the sort of canonical art, they are so spiky. Like this kind of indicates it. Like it's an interesting choice. They look kind of more like a bearded lizard or like a really deserty kind of spiny spiky lizard. They do have these kind of like I can't remember if these little antlery type horns are my invention or from D&D, but the antlery horns I really like for a snowy wintry dragon. Oops, that was the same guy. It's just an adult. We didn't want ancient. But all of the different spikes, they do look satisfying. The like layers of spikes like that, these big like sort of chunky frills of spikes. So it's the ancient one with this like snowy, frosty mouth. Vivi, you love the color of the wing flap. On this one, the white dragon, yeah, the sort of like more pinky kind of like skin color. Yeah, and they have a glow too. They have sort of like a lit from beneath kind of reflected light. Maybe because light would be like bouncing off of snow, you know, like they're maybe going to be in maps that are snowy a little bit more often. So snow creates like a lot of light bounce and underlighting and stuff. So I put that in. I put the really warm underlighting in. Okay, and let's take a look at their humanoid forms. So we have obviously little fur outfit. Again, we have a dragon scale pattern in the armor. And then we have these two different versions. A little like fur collar. Zoom in a little bit more. Get a look at these. And holding up a little bit of frost. And yeah, the scales also up the inside of the boot there too. And then we have our, again, really using those antlers. I think that the antlers are really cool for a winter dragon. Maybe they sporkle. Yes, they do sporkle. Yeah, so that's the little white dragon there. So yeah, that's the chromatic dragon pack. I would love to do a metallic dragon pack as well, and do like a different set of poses, and the 5 chromatic dragons. There is also, I guess I'll do a little tiny sneak peek for next time, but I won't get too into it. But the creatures and monsters of the Underdark. I do have other dragon variations too. There's also a deep dragon in the Underdark pack. So sometimes in like, there's also a dragon in the Feywilds pack, but I'll show that when I get to it, because it's sort of a little teaser. That's like one of the really cool tokens. So sometimes in like environment specific packs, I will also include like a dragon variation that is specific to that environment. So there are more dragons to be seen if you love Dorgan. Yeah, so I think I'll call it there, because it's been like 3 hours and it's the middle of the night now, which is really crazy. I thought this would be like an hour-long stream, but I guess I can just sort of monologue forever. So thank you so much for everybody who came by. It's so nice to see everybody, and yeah, thank you for looking at all of my different tokens and just hanging out with me tonight. Yeah, it was really fun. It was really fun. I love to sort of talk about what I'm working on and like explain things. So I'm so happy that everybody came by. Yeah, let me, I was supposed to try and use my, my little emotes today also, and I forgot about that. So maybe I'll follow out by just running, or I'll end out by just like running through a bunch of those that I didn't use. I have the dark eyes, blackout eyes, there's little blushy blush, there's the face dark, can get even more spooky and darker, little heart eyes. I could do heart eyes with the blackout eyes, that's fun. And then I have one of my favorite little guys, which is my lightning, little lightning spark. I love that one. I really need to use that more often out of my little screws. And then obviously we have our sparkly pleading eyes. I'll try and remember those for next time. We'll go to just I love also layering the dark eyes with the pleading eyes. Alright, well, thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for coming by and hanging out with me, and for talking to me about Dungeons and Dragons. I love to hear about everybody's thoughts and feelings and campaigns and characters and everything, so I'm obsessed with D&D and I love to talk about it. So yeah, everybody have a wonderful night, and I'll see you next time. Thank you so much for coming by, everybody.